So you're going to count me down? Excuse me.
Well, it's me this week, isn't it? It's okay. So going 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, good morning. It's an odd number. It's me.
Oh, S.
I wouldn't care apart from the fact I just said that immediately before I started counting down.
I go into automatic. I do. I really do. We'll leave this in, won't we?
We'll leave this in.
You are about to witness history in the making.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Pop Culture Gamers podcast. My name's Haydn, and as you've already heard, Steve is here and thinking he's hosting this week. It's my turn.
Sip my water, you carry on.
Yeah, you sip your water. So it's the 18th of July. This is going to be the last show for a few weeks. We're going to just take a summer break, and the reason why is just because there's not a lot coming out, guys. And rather than ramble on about, nothing much happening, well, we thought we'd just give it a break and we'll come back in September, refreshed after our hauls and with all of the new releases that are coming out. So anyway, Steve, welcome to the show, Steve.
Man, we've been sitting here half an hour talking and we think we know how to do this, don't we, by now?
Yeah. So, Steve, how are you?
Not bad, thank you very much. I've got a couple of crap bit of things going on next week. We actually spoke about this thing when I told you about it when we were, for once, in a conversation on an Xbox and a PC. Yes, it made a nice change, that, didn't it? Till about 1:30 in the morning, wasn't it? I can't remember what time we actually tied it up.
Yeah, it was something like that.
But we weren't playing games. Well, I was playing Destiny on my own, and you were just sound like you sound like you're tapping your keyboard, didn't you?
Yeah, I was just happily doing PC stuff.
Yeah. So the doctors want to know why I've got these blood clots at the moment, and I would like to come off the medication if it's possible, but I don't know yet. So I'm going to have a blood test this week, and I'm going to have a lung scan where they're going to pump some nuclear fuel in me so I can glow, and we'll see what happens. None of you will find that out, but this is I should know by about September what's going on. But it's I'm not a happy bunny for this. It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, and evidently you're not allowed to go near children or pregnant women.
No, so I've got to be banished. Well, I mean we're okay with Yoda, so I am going to be meeting up with some of my work guys for work. I'm still going to be working, but yeah, a bit weird, isn't it? You're not allowed to.
Yeah, I mean if you have to glow like that, shouldn't you just have your porridge oats in the morning?
Well, I just think it's like I'm thinking about The Simpsons with Mr. Byrne, isn't it? When he gets his injection every week and he looks glowing at night. Remember the alien? They all thought he was an alien in the forest.
God, yeah. And
it was him on steroids with his eyes bulging out while he was bright as even yellower than he is normally. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. That's about probably the hardest part of my week coming up.
It must be quite worrying though, having to go through that, because presumably, is there any potential side effects from it?
No, other than infecting children and pregnant women, that's about it, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I don't know. I've had something similar before, I think. I can't remember though, but they want to put a mask.
That was Ready Breck.
I know. They want to put a mask on my face so they can see me breathing. So I don't know if it's a bit of S&M going on here or not. I don't know.
Is there a paddle and a whip involved anywhere on this?
God knows.
Bit of paper leather.
If the nurse is going to look like something like what I'm thinking, then a whole game.
Be more like Nurse Ratchet, will they?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking actually. I'm just what comes to mind is the nurse in one of the one of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, where there's, if you remember, there's this nurse, but ever so good looking, and there's one of the kids in I think it's part 3. He was like a mute and couldn't speak, and she straddles on top of him, starts stripping naked, and her tongue comes out and starts rapping and holding his arms like this, sort of out on the bed. I don't know if you remember this one.
I have to admit I do not remember that, and I think that's possibly because my mind might have stopped me from remembering that deliberately.
No, I tell
That
you what, you
sounds
wouldn't.
awful.
I've never forgotten that scene, but yeah.
Which Nightmare on Elm Street was that?
I think that was the third one.
I don't think I've seen the
because
third.
all the kids think they got superpowers when they're in Freddy's world.
No, I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, and obviously the girl from the first two movies, she's had the Lamplin cheese still in it as well, because they all have like therapy sessions in the hospital with all these people.
I mean, when you think about it, Robert Englund, who at the same time as doing that was also on V.
Yeah.
And he was sort of like that very sort of gentle pacifist alien.
Do you think he must have had issues with his sort of his personality?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, wrong program. Okay, sorry, I put those knives away. I'm supposed to be like a
Yeah. And I'm also not Edward Scissorhands either.
No, but
no.
Yeah, I've seen a few pictures of him recently because I think there's another anniversary for one of the films. But
yeah,
very. I do love those movies. I don't actually own them, to be honest with you. Really, I need to at some point.
I'd have thought that would have been sort of like one of the first ones you would have got.
Well, I had them on VHS, and I think I had them on DVD at one point. But I never went a step further. And now there's like box sets.
Right.
Because there's about 5 or 6 of these movies.
Yeah.
And whether or not there's, I always keep thinking maybe we're going to get a special box set that might come out at some point. But I've got the Friday the 13th box set, which has got about 6 movies in it, I think. But yeah, one day I'll pick it up. I always look at it and see it there. But I just seen the first one. I remember seeing it in the cinema, and we were so in awe over what we were watching. A child killer.
Yeah.
These days it's a bit more, I don't know, a bit of touch and go. But,
yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how Halloween has done a comeback, but Nightmare on Elm Street hasn't.
It did actually. It did have a comeback.
Not much of one, though, did it? It fizzled out quite quickly.
It had a remake.
Yeah.
It was all right. It was okay. It was a bit more up to date to passe. But, it's not Robert Englund in it.
Mm.
And all the, the special effects are actually practical and not digital, like what it would be with the newer movie that came out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I have a soft spot for those horror films. And it's nice to see something similar that I'll be talking about later on that was right up my street on Netflix. I think shame you need to watch that, but we'll talk about that later. So what else this week? So yeah, just on the movie side, I did see something I've been meaning to pick up for many years. I had this on VHS, but never went to DVD, and that was Ivan Reitman's Animal House.
Yes.
Which I've just picked up on HD, 4K, blah blah blah, all of that. And it's got some lovely extras in it, which I look forward to seeing with members of the cast as they are now. And ironically, my wife was watching a Netflix show. I walked in the other room, sat down, and had dinner with her. I left it on, whatever she was watching. And there was a guy on it, and I looked at his face, I thought, I recognise him. And for a minute, I thought it was Starbuck out of Battlestar Galactica. I would have put my money on it.
What, Dirk Benedict?
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was one of the members of Animal House, one of the cast from that. Because when I sort of went on to, as you do, I've been BB, and you look up the show, what you're watching. Oh, of course it is. And then I suddenly realised they look very similar.
Yeah.
And the guy's very old now, because obviously Animal House came out in 1978. But yeah, no, it's one of my favourite comedies of the time. I mean, Meatballs came out, Porky's as well, around a little bit later in the early 80s, and those sort of camp frolic movies.
Yeah, they were sort of like a rude version, an American rude version of the Carry On movies, really, weren't they?
I suppose so. So there was Porky's 1, 2, and 3. You had Meatballs, you had Stripes, because obviously Bill Murray was in Stripes with
yeah.
As well. Do you remember? And that's a class movie. I've never seen that.
Yeah, no, I used to watch Stripes loads. I used to love the movie. I think it was, I can't even remember if I actually saw Bill Murray in that before I actually saw him in Ghostbusters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then obviously Caddyshack as well, so all those sort of movies that came out around that sort of all linked to National Lampoons to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, I never realised this until recently, but Chevy Chase really wasn't a very popular kind of guy, was he, generally speaking, from his fellow actors and stuff like that?
Well, there was him, Bill Murray, there was Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy. All of these guys were all on Saturday Night Live, so they were all buddies at the time.
Yeah.
John Belushi, of course.
Yes.
So that's what, and it's funny because I was watching. Obviously, you know that show that was on Netflix about movies that's coming out.
Yeah.
We've had one season. We've got a second season coming. And I happened to watch a bit of Ghostbusters again, and I had it on because Mrs. was on the phone to the daughters and in the chat. So I thought I'd just break something on while I'm waiting for her. And originally, Ghostbusters was going to be Dan Aykroyd,
Eddie Murphy,
and who was the third
John
one?
Belushi.
John Belushi. And you think, wow, that would have been different.
That would have been really, really different. And I didn't know about the whole thing about Huey Lewis and the News and Ray Parker Jr. and Ray Parker Jr. getting sued for the backbeat for Ghostbusters because it was like one of Huey Lewis's songs, which was Huey Lewis was originally approached to do the theme for Ghostbusters, and then Ray Parker Jr. evidently tried to sort of like make a bit of a homage to one of his songs by using a similar beat. He got sued for an undisclosed like massive amount of money, and then years later Huey Lewis disclosed the amount he was given, and then Ray Parker Jr. sued him for breach of the confidentiality agreement and got the money back.
It's class, isn't it? And it was going to be called Ghost Breakers at first as well, which was
there was a few different names, and it's like Slimer was originally called Mr. Mr. Onion Head as well.
But there were, if you've not checked out on those Netflix, I think there's about three or four in each in the first season. The next season's coming out shortly, and there is a Christmas one as well.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know about, which I watched, which I think had Elf on it, for example, and I think what was the other one? I can't remember what it was. But well worth a watch. They're just fascinating things to grab a lot of information from. Anyhow,
it's funny you should really mention that, because I've been watching more and more sort of YouTube videos, and I've been watching this guy for a while now, but he's called Minty Comic Arts. Have you ever watched him?
I don't think so.
Oh, you want to watch it because he does 10 things that you never knew about, and then it's different movies. So he did a good one on Jaws.
Oh, did he?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've watched some of Jaws documentaries. They're coming out of my ears sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's Movies That Made Us. That's the Netflix show. I'll close that down because that's now showing you Ghostbusters on my phone. If you don't want to do, you don't want to be hearing that. So that was Dirty Dancing, Home Alone, Ghostbusters, and Die Hard. That was the four for that season.
Well, there's a link for you to Minty Comic Arts, so you can have an enjoyment of that because he is funny. Yeah.
Yep. Bill Murray's still trying to play the piano on my phone. Go away. And there's a new season coming out shortly with Back to the Future and a couple of others, but I can't remember what they were now. But yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, it's so this weekend was Record Store Day.
Yes.
I wasn't too fussed about actually going to be standing in queue because there was not a lot of really after. But there's one thing that I wanted that was like gold dust in this game, but we'll talk about it in a minute. So I didn't go in the queue. My missus was going to do some bits and pieces before she went out, and then I thought, well, I'll pop out now. I might just go to there's a new store I'd opened up during lockdown, which is even closer to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I spoke to him on the phone. I said, "Oh, you want?" Yeah. He said, "What have you got in for Record Store Day?" He said, "Bits and pieces." I said, "What about this?" He went, "Yeah, we had one copy." And I spoke to the other store. Yeah, we had one copy. So that went easy. I mean, you'd have to be first in line, so you have to be up there a ridiculous time of day. So anyway, I went in there. I did a little nose, picked up the horror classic The Keep from Tangerine Dream. Have you ever seen that?
No.
And also Who's Afraid of the Art of Noise by The Art of Noise, which you may know, you may not know. They were a very weird band. They were with using a lot of instruments for weird and wonderful ways. So that was it. But the big one I was after was the Matrix soundtrack, 3 LP on green silver, I think it was going to be. So there was only 500 pressed on the planet. Again, why? I do not know. Various band have released it on CD as well, so if you wanted to pick it up, you can there. Now, I knew that Transmission Records were going to have it on sale at 6 o'clock that evening, and didn't say how many copies they got, but they showed the list of what they're going to put online for Record Store Day because they were like an internet company instead of like a shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could go through it. I sort of bookmarked the page which had the actual album on there, just as a description. It doesn't say for sale or anything. 5 to 6 goes. I'm sitting there, refresh. We've all been there for all sorts of things we've been after. and kept disconnecting from the server, losing an image on the screen. So I thought, you know what, this ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I kept doing it. Then I got one in the basket. Oh no, I got two in the basket. I don't want to. I only want one. So I took one out. It was then disconnected from the server again. I thought, oh, for God's sake, kept doing it. I was doing it for 20 minutes, and in half an hour, I finally bagged one of the 7 that they had on the store. So they had 7 in there, and I actually got it confirmed with an email. I actually bagged that album. So pleased, because I knew, and even the guy I spoke to, because the new store that was open, I spoke to him, and his wife was sitting down there as well. And I said, I was just chatting, I said, the scalpers and eBay are out again. I said, what? He said, well, the Matrix is now going for 400 quid. He said, you're kidding. His missus sort of woke, said, well, what are we selling for? I said, no, you're selling for recommended retail price. This is what scalpers do on eBay. She didn't have a Scooby-Doo what I was talking about. And if you went on there, you can see them. They're going from 400 downwards, I think, to about 80, 90 quid. Yeah, I'm so chuffed to pick that up. I couldn't believe my luck. I mean, something else I wanted was put back to the third drop, which is the other John Carpenter soundtrack I was after. But that doesn't matter. The Matrix is the, how do you put it, the golden chalice or anything to pick up.
I know what you mean, yeah.
And when it's only 500 pressings, I mean, I've got something else here. I've never really spoken much about it, actually. I've got John Williams' complete soundtrack to Lost in Space, and of those, there's only 50 on the planet, because these pressings were made especially to give to members of staff at Space Lab. Have you heard of that record company?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, they've done a lot of the Fallout soundtrack. Space Lab did with Bethesda. So the pressing I've got, which is a clear with like a blob of colour in the middle. Similar to what the Batman soundtrack was when I got that. But there's only 50 of those on the planet. So that's going to be even rarer than the Matrix. But it'd be interesting to hear what that score has got on it, because it's, say, 3 albums, and there must be a shed load on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I picked up
you picked up my copy, well, didn't you? The red and blue one, didn't you, for your birthday?
No, I got Interstellar.
Oh, of course you did. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Because I'd been watching that and Lucy, because I picked up both of those on 4K Blu-ray a few months back, but I'd not got round to actually watching them.
Right.
And then last week, I sat and watched my way, through both of them. Completely loved them as well, Yeah. For me, while I liked Interstellar the first time I saw it, I think I didn't appreciate it quite as much. And then after a couple of rewatches, I really love the movie now. I feel like it's...
You think it grows on you?
Yeah, I feel like it's it's like a modern day classic in the way that 2001 is, but in a different sort, in a different kind of way. But it's certainly got that kind of like epic feel to it, and it's got Hans Zimmer's score as well, and it's absolutely fantastic score. So the version I got's like 4 LPs. One of the LPs has etchings on one side as well, which is really nice.
Let me just my Discogs account and I'll find it on there.
But it is really nice. It comes with sort of like linear notes from Hans Zimmer and what's his name, Christopher Nolan as well, who was the director. But it's just a really nice sort of collection. Great music.
I see. I've got it here. So that's a 3 LP plus LP S-sided etched.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at the.
Well, 4 LPs. I think one side's.
Yeah, it's 3 LPs. Yeah, but they on the description notes here on so.
But it's on 180 gram vinyl as well.
How much you pay for it, by the way? Out of curiosity.
I paid.
You paid retail, didn't you?
37.
Well, if you look on Discogs,
yeah,
it's going from. There's a few on there actually. A lot of them. I think a lot of them did just mint. So basically, they're probably still in their packaging. They're going from about $34.49 to $48.49. This is all over the world as well. I'm looking obviously from different. There's a lot there for sale. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I just got mine from Amazon. I didn't look on Discogs.
No. I always use. I use Discogs quite a bit now. Oh, there's the etching on it. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's got the Morse code on it, by the looks of it.
Yeah, but it's a really good soundtrack as well. I mean, it's quite. How can I put it? Quite sort of like Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's quite harmonious, but it builds up a pace quite a bit. And there was this one great thing. You've not seen the movie, have you?
It's one that's been on my radar for God knows how long.
You really need to see this movie because, I mean, it is scientifically accurate to what we sort of know. I mean, obviously, it takes scientific liberties on, towards the end and in various different bits as well. But obviously, Einstein's theory of relativity features very heavily on this because basically a wormhole opens up to another galaxy where there is a black hole called Gargantua, and a very much sort of hidden and depleted NASA is trying to find planets that mankind can colonize because the Earth is dying. That's the story. And Matthew McConaughey is one of a group of people who go into this different galaxy to look for planets suitable for human life. And they land on this planet that's covered with water, but it's only like about, a foot deep sort of thing. And when you're listening to it, there's a beat and it's just sort of like bum, 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 going on in this music. And, it's Hans Zimmerman's, music to it. But because of the proximity of the planet to the black hole, time is distorted. So, the theory is if you're in a gravity well, the more that the gravity well distorts space-time, then the slower time will go. So and we know this to be true because if you have an atomic clock that's synchronized with another one and you send one into space and one on the ground, the one in space will actually run slower, which is why NASA, whoever does the GPS satellites, have to keep resetting the clocks or changing the orientation of the clocks to Earth, because otherwise GPS wouldn't work. So we know it's true. Einstein predicted it. It's been demonstrated in real life that this happens. So like I said, this is every 1.83 seconds is this boo, boo, boo as part of the soundtrack. But what that's actually signifying is every time there's a boo sort of sound, that is 1 day passing on Earth.
Oh, okay. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's it's all of that sort of stuff that goes on in it. A lot's integrated to it. There's a lot of actual sort of church organ kind of music in there as well. But it's a great soundtrack. I think it's probably one of my favourite ones that he's done.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's always worth going. I don't know if you use Discog really, do you? I don't think you're.
I record all of my my collection on Discogs.
Yeah, I was just looking because, I went onto the Matrix on there, and there's about 92 for sale, and there's one guy that's got about 7 copies, and he's from the States. And there's a copy of Skyrim for sale there for 269 quid.
Crazy, isn't it?
I know it is, but I do get good. I do give good feedback because they do pretty much send out. I've got some old pressings of stuff I've been, picked up.
I mean, it's like just the standard one for the Matrix on is 22.47.
That's the red and blue, which you got that box.
No, that's just a normal record.
Isn't it the red and blue one or the black one?
Oh yeah, it is red and blue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know? I'm sure I've got that one actually.
Yeah, you got it for your birthday from your boy.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you did because you mentioned it on the show.
Yeah,
I'd
completely forgotten. Yeah, I've got that one. It's a good record as well.
Yeah, it is. I got it somewhere. First one I did on my YouTube channel, actually. Funnily enough, first one I did.
Because I was looking at the picture disc with Neo on it, which is like
someone else on Twitter I was talking to, he showed me his copy of that. He had that and the red and blue as well.
Yeah, because I know that sometimes the sound quality is not quite as good on those ones, but generally speaking, the vinyls tend to be heavier. But I just like picture discs.
Especially if you want to frame them, I suppose, as well. I'd say Discogs is a good place to go hunting. I bought a few bits and pieces there.
Yeah.
Of late. And just looking at the last things I picked up. So yeah, did I pick up Sparks on there? I think I did. Yeah, gratuitous sex and violence, and also an Ultravox album as well. But I keep looking at what it's worth and thinking, Jesus Christ, put my head in. Anyway, what about you? So what else have you been up to anyway? Anything else?
Not really. I'm just sort of gearing up to having a week off. So
Right.
I've got one more week of work,
Mm.
and then I'm off for a week, and
Yeah.
then I'm back for 3 weeks, and then I'm off for 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So just it's the way it works about covering the summer holidays.
Yeah, we're not. We might take a week off at some point for our wedding anniversary. We normally do. We might not be going anywhere. We might just be at home. But I haven't taken. I mean, my holiday starts not calendar year, but tax year.
So it starts when?
Tax year. So
Right.
March, April.
Yeah.
I haven't taken days off yet. Well, I've got 2 days from taking off coming up, but I haven't taken it yet. I always end up with loads left over at the end, so I start having 4-day weeks and squeeze a week in or something.
Yeah, well, it's like with my work, we can work flexi time, so we can work sort of like up to 12 days flexi a year, but we can only take 2 days flexi off. Obviously, you have to have worked the time before you can take it off. This is different to time off in lieu as well.
Yeah.
But not that we do much time off in lieu. But I think last year, because of lockdowns and stuff like that, and just working from home, I ended up doing loads of flexi time because you just carry on working at 5 o'clock. Whereas I'd be sort of like packing up at 5 to go home. Because I don't have to drive anywhere. You just push it. You just do that little bit of extra work sort of thing, and then next thing that you know, it's 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I get texts from the missus sometimes when you finish in sort of thing.
But you do a lot of travelling in your job, don't you?
Not as much at the moment, but I just do long days if I'm at home. I might start at quarter past 7, half 7.
Yeah, I mean,
I work straight through to about 6:30.
I mean, for me, because my job's totally office based, or I should say, office and meeting room based. If I go, if my work has really been transformed with, COVID, because before, I work with multi-agency partners from different organisations. I would, sort of like say, get 3 or 4 people together to agree a date. And it'd be like in 2 weeks, 3 weeks time. And then it'd be like, well, we'll have to add another month on that because we can't get a room to meet in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, and now it's sort of like, it's not 2 or 3 weeks time. It's sort of like tomorrow or the day after, because we can do it instantly. You can have quick meetings, you can have long meetings online, but it just makes it it's really accelerated the pace of work. Which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing as well, because it just means that it feels a lot busier now, and it is busier because we're getting through more work.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But that, to me, that's a positive thing. And I'd rather be busy than be bored. And in my job, you can't really be bored.
No.
It's impossible to be bored. I think also, if you are bored, you're not in the right job, given what I do.
Yeah.
So
it'd drive you bonkers, wouldn't it?
Oh God, yeah, yeah. It's not for everyone. And I'm not even frontline, but I think the people who are frontline, is stuff that they see is, not good. But hey ho, as it is. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to a week off. I've got no plans of doing anything other than creosote in the fence.
That's what we were doing this afternoon. The missus was creosoting 2 fences at one side of the house.
Well, I mean,
just make it a seating area sort of thing. So if you did that, and then I got roped into doing the bench. There's a wooden bench there that's a bit ruckety, but it just needed a bit of up and down, do whatever. So yeah, because I'm not too red, I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're renting out my other property, so I'm going to do a couple of little upgrades there. Just going to creosote the fence which is around most of the property, and it's a average size front garden and a massive back garden, wrapping the way around. You're talking probably over 100 foot of fencing panels. Well over. So that's going to take a while, but I've got a spray painter for doing it. So hopefully it won't take too long.
We did old school, which was rush up and down.
Yeah.
I
No,
said
I'm
to
not.
it, I said, this feels like it's for being naughty. You're debating a picket fence, like something like Tom Sawyer or something.
Wasn't it sort of Karate Kid sort of training
Well,
as well?
that's not coming. That's not far away as well, is it? At the minute, waiting for that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm gonna do that. Like I said, we've got the property on the market. We've had a couple of people looking around. Steve, you rent, okay? So I'm going to ask you, why is it that I hope you don't do this as a somebody who's looking at when you rent it. But if you look at the pictures of a house and you see that there isn't a bath, why would your criticism of the house that you went to look at because you wanted to look at it be it doesn't have a bath?
Why would I criticise it?
Yeah, why would you criticise it when you went knowing it didn't have a bath?
Well, you wouldn't. I wouldn't go in the first place, probably.
I've had 3 people who have been to see the house who have all said, oh, it doesn't have a bath. Well, you wouldn't get one materialise out of nowhere, for God's sake.
Because there's photos that show the
bathroom. There's a photo that shows the bathroom and it shows it's a big shower cubicle, yeah. And then people say, well, it doesn't have a bath. Well, that's not feedback. We knew that.
Yeah. You got one of those big heads on it, one of those big square things that looks like it's going to rain, like in a movie when it's coming out or something.
I just honestly, I can't understand the stupidity of people turning around and saying that.
If you go there, why would you go there and criticise it if you already know that's there? Because then why go in the first place? If you're looking to view it because you're thinking of having it.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, the bath is sometimes, depending on if you've got kids, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I can understand not having a bath is not something that everybody would want, especially in a larger house. But nowadays, a lot of people don't want baths. I mean, personally, I think when my mum and dad redid the bathroom of the house, it was a massive mistake not including a bath. But because of their age and whatever, they didn't want a bath. And I could understand that, but I'm not going to stick in a bath because I'd have to replace the whole suite and I'd have to retile the whole place.
It cost you a fortune, wouldn't it?
It cost me a year's rent. I'm not going to do that. It's just utter stupidity that some people say, oh, there's no bath. Seriously. If it says no bath in the brochure, where do you think you're going to get one? Do you think there's going to be one in the shed that doesn't exist?
Well, you could get yourself one of those American Western, which is like that big tin. Yeah. And you pour the hot water in it.
Well, I mean, I used to have a dog bath. Maybe I should have just kept that in the garage. That would have kept them quiet.
Yeah. Anyway, that's your whinge over. Should we move on?
That's my whinge. I just found it really stupid, what some people say. Anyway, so let's move on to Gaming This Week.
No longer a dream, but a reality.
All right, so Gaming This Week, and Steve, what do you want to talk about the news or?
It's all right. As soon as I went to bring a new page up and start typing, you said that. Yeah. So my favourite thing here, we have a new Switch coming out, don't we?
Your favourite, and it's not a light switch.
No, it's not. It's an OLED Switch. That doesn't mean that you've got a light switch that looks like an OLED. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's disappointing because we were expecting the like the Switch Pro, the Super Switch, or whatever it is that you want to call it. So given the fact that what everybody thought it was going to be, it feels a bit sort of deflated. And let's face it, unless you've already got a Switch, you're not going to upgrade for an OLED, I would have thought.
No.
I can understand. I mean, it'd be nice.
I still don't get it. I still don't get why it needs to be OLED. I don't want to buy one yet. Go back one, thank you. Sorry, that was me. I was looking at. I suppose it'll look nice.
Yeah, I mean it'll display nice, and it's £309 and 99 pence. So is that well placed considering how
much again? Sorry,
I'm just wondering, is that worth the extra money for that display? I'm not really that sure it is.
But don't get me wrong, is it going to look really that much better as a small screen? Well, not to say small screen, but the size of the screen that it is, Does it warrant an OLED?
Well, clearly Nintendo thought they did.
I mean, maybe with the quality of, say, some of the, iPhones and Galaxy phones now that we have, which are this sort of size, I don't know how much difference the screen is going to be for a Switch compared to that. Is it much in the same sort of size? Is it? Or is it a bit bigger than that?
Probably a little bit bigger, I think.
But
I don't know.
I mean, they're going to sell. Don't get me wrong. There are people out there that might pick one up. It's still people that don't own one might go for that.
Yeah, and I suppose it's using the first Switch rather than the Switch Lite. It's using the first Switch sort of form factor, isn't it?
But isn't this going to be the sort of way that Switches go? You're going to go from the standard and the upgrade, and they're going to bring something else out. I mean, this is about as far as they can go with the Switch, isn't it?
I can't really think of much else that they can do with it.
No.
Beyond then giving it 4K.
But it doesn't need the screen size wouldn't warrant 4K,
No, but remember, not everybody plays it as a portable. I don't.
No.
But I play it as
but I don't know what the schematics and mechanics of it having to be to give you that on a full screen, might do. I don't know what the build would be to what it would cost to actually get something to do that.
And how it would be powered.
Yeah, and
But Steam do, because they're introducing the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
So coming this December is a full gaming PC built into a Switch sort of style format. It's going to be fully open, so you can install your own different OSs. The price is going to be $349 for the 64 megabyte eMMC version, and then a 256 NVMe version for $449 or $459, I should say. And then there'll be the 549 version, which will have 512 megabyte NVMe SSD. There's also going to be a dock available, and it can evidently run modern games on high quality settings. So what do you think about this? Would this tempt you?
No, not in a million years.
You could play Destiny.
I do that on my phone. I'm happy to do that.
You could play Destiny on better equipment.
My next purchase, if it works out right and I'm happy, will be something completely different anyway. I'm just looking at now.
It's going to be a flight stick, isn't it?
We'll talk about this later.
The Thrustmaster flight stick.
Oh, look at that screen. It's like magic. It's appeared as you said it.
I control the horizontal, I control the vertical.
We're going to talk about that later when we go into games.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at this, and at first I thought, ooh, that sounds good. But then I thought, I'm working from home. I am, when I'm on my lunch, I have access to my PC. Why would I need one? If I'm going, I don't play games in the living room.
Would you actually want to take that out? I mean, I guess if you were going away for a weekend with the missus in a hotel or something, and you think, you know what, I'd take that with me. So I could spend about an hour of that on my own and sit on the bed when she's doing something. Do you know what I mean?
I take my laptop.
Yeah.
And that can run modern games on high settings.
But I think it's more for that. If there is such thing as a portable gamer, a proper portable gamer, they're out there, I'm assuming. And that's how they do it.
Yeah, I mean, it does look like a really nice piece of kit.
I don't know why I'd want to sit in a park playing one like some of these adverts you see. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Somebody come and lift it off you and do a runner.
No, I don't. To be honest, even if I was sort of like a 20-year-old, I wouldn't want to be doing that because I would be more interested in other things, I think.
Yeah.
And part of that would be my own image of, not being a nerdy 20-year-old playing video games in the park. So yeah, I kind of see where it's coming from. I think years ago when I used to have a job that took me all over the country on a semi-regular basis, or I was going up and down to London on the train, this might have scratched an itch for me. But it doesn't. If
you're someone that commutes a lot to work, that proper commute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
But it's not just a gaming console. You can actually, put Windows on and put Office on and stuff like that. But if you're going to do that, why wouldn't you just have a laptop?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one, but I'm just not sure. I'm not sure where it's going to fit really for people, because unless, of course, they're just trying to kill off the Switch by having the PC equivalent.
Yeah.
And it's not the first one of these sort of things that's gone on before, but that's been reviewed. But I suppose it's the first one that's been backed by Valve.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing, isn't it? Another interesting one is giving Steve an excuse for when he loses at Crucible of, it was actually a hack. There is now a new auto aim hack that's been created. So this works using an AI, and it evidently can't be detected by any of the current software that is out there on Bungie or anywhere else. Because evidently you need two computers to use it, and it captures the information through a capture card, reads and interprets the screen, and then sends back a signal using some sort of link to your device to use to be the emulate the controller that it's sending the information in order to do the aiming for you. So effectively speaking, it's almost like the perfect way of cheating, because you're not going to get detected on this because it's using a different machine.
Yeah.
The question I've got to ask is, so why do people do it? I mean, we've been in games on Destiny where we've been pretty sure people have been cheating.
Yeah, I mean, but there are some good players out there, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, so, there are, but no one's as invincible.
When I watched my boy used to play it, when he played it a lot, he could flinch and get a headshot with one shot with a sniper rifle. Like, I'm thinking, well, how quick does he do that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are ways, but Bungie they do keep in contact with the community, and they're pretty good at tracing stuff and working with it. So whether it's a thing or not, I don't know. But I mean, I bet they'd be on it like a rash, if you know what I mean.
It'll be interesting to see how they can actually jump on it, though. If it's sending a false controller signal back to the original machine through AI, other than maybe the way in which it automatically aims by going in a straight line to where it needs, rather than...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I thought that could be the only way I could think of it could really do it, because otherwise, how do you distinguish between an AI-controlled controller and a human-controlled controller? But anyway, it's an excuse for the next time that we're on Iron Banner and we keep getting beaten.
Well, I did Iron Banner this year. We did the latest Iron Banner, and I haven't been on there for long. But when weapons change and they get buffed and everything else, sometimes oh god, I need to change my weapons again. I'm not getting any good. Do you know what I mean? But it's the way it works. I mean, there's going to be a lot of buffs for Destiny coming up shortly. So yeah, it's all right. I don't get so annoyed as I used to. Maybe I'm pretty much laid back when it comes to being. If I'm sniped or whatever, I think, oh, for God's sake, I do get slightly annoyed, not enough to throw my controller at the screen.
No.
But I just found another story, actually. I won't mention it now, what it is. Very interesting one. I'll leave it to when I'm talking about what I've been playing, because it's linked to that as well. It's a great little story I found that I saw a few days ago.
Okay.
I've just got that. And yes, there's something else I'm going to talk about, which you just mentioned a minute ago, where I've been looking on... online, which I was actually watching some videos, but I'll talk about that again later.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, I'll talk to you about it because I've had the Thrustmaster before.
Which one?
Well, it was the PlayStation 1, but it was basically the same shape.
There's one here that's £244. Have you seen that one?
Oh, there's always loads of ones. I mean, I've got the X52, Logitech X52, which is about 160 quid.
Yeah, I mean, I'll mention it in gaming because I want to talk about Microsoft, let's say.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll end up skipping that bit.
All right. Okay, so in terms of free games this week, there is Epic with
new releases first. Do you know if you want to do that?
Oh, sorry, yeah, go on then. We'll do the new releases. We'll keep it in order, shall we? Because there's only 3, isn't there? So it's like
so we have Monster Harvest on all consoles and even a Switch as well, coming out on the 20th of the 7th. We got Tales, or that's Crisis, on all platforms, including Stadia, would you believe, on the same day. And the last one, we got Orcs Must Die 3, PlayStation, PC, and Xbox. So PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox. So.
Yeah.
on the 23rd of the 7th.
So
That's how actually quiet it is. And also on the 27th of the 7th, we've got Microsoft Flight Simulator, which you haven't got down here, but I'm going to mention it anyway because I'm counting the clogs down for it.
Well, the reason why I haven't got Microsoft Flight Simulator is because that would have come in next week, sure. If we'd
Well, we're
been
not doing one next week,
No,
so
we
I'm
aren't.
going to mention it now.
Okay, so in terms of the Epic Game Store, at the moment, you can get for free Abduction from the creators of Myst, and there's also Off-World Trading Company. And then next week, from the 22nd, there is Defense Grid, and also WW1 Verdun Western Front. So
There you go.
some good free games for you to have a go at there. In terms of I've not really been sort of settled on anything gaming wise. I mean, despite the fact that somehow I've managed to achieve 22,000 gamer score this month, I've not focused on anything. I've been playing a bit of Assassin's Creed Origins
No.
and Marvel's Avengers, but other than that, nothing I really want to talk about so much. I did drop in on Destiny, so maybe we should do the link in there in terms of Destiny. Yes, I've
dropped in on Destiny. You mean you went hello and went away again or something? Is that what you did?
No, I actually loaded and played the game.
So did you start Solstice of Heroes?
Yes.
I've done it on 2 characters, by the way, now.
How long's it been going on for, and how long's it got?
I think it's the end of the month. I think maybe a bit more.
The end of this month.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do it on my 3rd character. I did it on 2 characters. I know I've been whinged at for not using my other characters, and I was talking to Mark about it. So I actually went on there, and I can't play as a Titan. They're friggin' hard, but they are. They're like lumpy thickheads. They are. And anyway, but I did
the kitchen staff with that tea towel on the waist.
I know. But anyway, so what I did was, with Solstice of Heroes, you got the blue armor, okay, which you have to do all the bits to do that. Yep. Then you get the next armor you get, and you have to do bits for that. The 3rd part of the armor doesn't have to be done during Solstice of Heroes, it can be done at any time.
Right.
And on there it includes raids and other bits and pieces. I mean, one day if we get to do a raid, I'll get that bit of armor done.
If you ever get to do a raid.
If we ever get to, but it's not a pressing issue. But at least I got the armor done to that point again. So I did 2 characters in Destiny, and yeah, pretty much it's not hard to do if you plan it right and how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the complete set, and I've done the helmet, because you have to do the helmet first, don't you? Then you get the rest.
You do the helmet, you do the first, then you do all of that, then you go back and meditate. And then you again get the next armor upgrade. Then you got to do all those again. Go back there and meditate again. You get the 3rd part of the armor, which gives you the glow. But that you can do that after Solstice of Heroes. So if you just get the first 2 bits done, you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was playing it on PC.
Of course you were.
Because
otherwise you would have popped in and hi Steve, I'm playing an Xbox there.
Yeah. Hi Steve, look at me, my what was it, 1234 or something character.
Well, look, come on, I don't play more than one character, okay?
Yeah.
And my main character is 1335 at the moment, roughly. I've got my my Titan up to about 1328 by giving. I mean, I did a clear out. Did I mention this to you? I've actually done a proper clear out in my vault. I actually got rid of all the stuff that I can't play with anymore.
And then immediately filled up your vault again.
I have. It's filled up again, but I've got like 16 of this, 16 of that, 4 exotics of that, because we do exotic runs, obviously, with Mark every now and then we'll go through. I've got about 4 of this, 4 of that, blah, blah, blah. And so when I'm giving to other characters, it's bumping their levels up a bit more. And then the drops are coming in a bit heavier. Because what you used to be able to do with the season, when you go to each character, when you completed the 1 to 100 in the season, they would give you armor for each character, and that would help you build up. But they don't do it this time. You get it. You get the stuff that makes it look good, which you can attach to it. I can't even call it a minute, but
the ornaments.
The ornaments. Thank you. You get that. You don't get physical armor, so you can't do that sort of cheat. If you're going to call that cheat.
I never thought that was a cheat, because
not really a cheat, but it's a way of getting around it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time that was lower level than what you were anyway.
Yeah.
So
I think at the moment I'm 100, and my level in this season, I'm about 178 at the moment. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I went on for half an hour and I'm level 2.
Yeah. But I say I've really enjoyed this season. If you get to do the other bits and pieces within that, it's really good fun.
I like the way that they've split all of the weeks up so that you can actually complete the different things within each one.
All those, also for you now, all the sponge mission, for example, which are good fun. They're all there for you to go through step by step.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, my Titan, I haven't looked at my Hunter, my Titan, I hadn't done the Moon yet, and I haven't done, what's the other one? The Moon, DLC, and the one for, the ice and everything else on that planet as well. I haven't done any of that yet. I've started it now, but I just started just to open up the map so I could go around doing bits and pieces. Because I was going back to, I was going on my main character, going playing the, I was just about to say Well of Souls from Indiana Jones then, but the what you can do on one of the planets is you've got the well where you've got the bubbles each time, and then they disintegrate and you go to the next bubble and everything else, and you've got the big boss at the end.
Don't remember that one.
Okay, so anyway, they've given the weapon to come back into the pool now, and they've got new perks on them. So I picked up a couple of hand cannons, and boy, does that hand cannon works very well. I'm just running that at the minute. It just obliterates anything. Really good hand. But yeah, it's the Destiny grind is what it is, and there is, I think the 27th we've got the new sort of documentary and the stream coming out with what's coming up soon.
Right.
So we won't be here to talk about that, but that will be, I think it's about the 27th, giving us the next part of the next season that we're going to have. And also what they're doing is they are changing the Zavala's currency.
Yeah, because it's not going to be Vanguard tokens anymore.
No, you're going to need to go in there and use them all up.
Just the thing is, I've got like thousands of the things. I think
I've got about 2,000 sitting there at the minute. But that's okay. I'll just be getting more bits and pieces that I can just break down and build up with what else I've got.
I've got way more. I've got about 8,000 because Zavala never gives you anything decent. It's all because he's always like level capped, isn't he?
No, well, what he does give you sometimes when you get some of that armor, you get a good drop on it. So some of the armor I keep, I'm just going to turn my Xbox on actually. Some of the armor I keep. When you get the ranking of it and what it starts off as a numerical number, should we say? Yeah. So, when they're about 59 and less, I just delete the armor. But I'm getting stuff at 66 and 70. And you want to keep those ones because those are the ones you want to use on the mod. Once they're fully mod, you can get them up to about 80 onwards and higher, 80, 90 on that. So therefore, your character's going to be in a better position overall with all his stats and stuff like that.
Yeah, I always do that.
But I'm enjoying it. It's still good fun. I know people might say, why am I playing something I've been playing for about 6-7 years now, isn't it?
More than that.
Is it really?
Well, yeah, it must be 7 years since Destiny.
7? But yeah, so I'll carry on playing. I'll look forward to the stream that's coming out and see what's coming up next. I think this season is stretched quite longer anyway, as I did say, so you'll be able to, if you wanted to dive in there and boot your character up to keep ahead of the game, if you do want to go into the next season, it's well worth just picking at it if you want.
Yeah.
Regarding FIFA 2021, so I was on there last night. I haven't been on for a bit, and I've got some FIFA points sitting there. They've been sitting there for a while, as I said a little while ago. They now do preview for the packs and everything. So I went on there. I just opened up all the preview packs that they give you. The one there was with a character worth having, a player. So I just purchased it, and I was well chuffed with that. But there's a news story that broke, and a giant cryptocurrency farm has been found in the UK, in Ukraine, with thousands of PS4s all linked up to farm bot FIFA. And I send you this, I'll give you the link, and you look at the pictures that they have in there, it's unreal. Let me just do this for you now. You see that picture there, even on that bit there? I mean, I've never seen so many PS4s in all my life in one place.
Yeah.
And yeah, just farming for FIFA. Can you believe that? That is just unreal, isn't it?
It's quite sad, really.
When you look at the second picture coming down below, where there's a guy there which is sort of pixelated
just
out.
racks and racks and racks. Yeah.
Racks and racks. All PC looked after to FarmBot for FIFA. What's the world come to?
It's just beyond belief that anybody would, that there is so much of a trade in it.
Yeah.
To make it profitable.
I mean, obviously what they've been doing lately to try and make, there's a spin in the coin, as I've said before. But back in the day, if you go back to the 80s, there was people that would have hundreds of VCRs in a warehouse copying the latest movie that's out. It's no different, really, is it? To make money, which you'd see being sold out of the back of a van on an industrial estate where they sell their rolls as well. Here's the latest. I've got Silence of the Lambs. You just come out in the cinema. Here goes a copy. Crazy, absolutely crazy. Anyway, so regarding Flight Sim, as I say, that's coming out on the 27th. You played with it, deleted it, and put it to bed. I think. Will you ever go back to it? Do you think? Or not?
I don't know. It's just not for me. It's not because it's not a good game. I'm not a big fan of simulators. I just prefer something that's a little bit of a more relaxed sort of experience, which that wasn't.
So what's more relaxing than taking a biplane along Canada through the nice little forests, and you got the sun there, and it's all gleaming, and it's all nice and
but it was very simulatory rather than. It's a difference between having the Project Cars sort of approach to having the Forza approach.
Yeah. But anyway, so I've been just watching a few videos. I did put a couple in there recently because, it is a big thing to come to console. I have played my Flight Simulator on a PC back in the day when it was a pixelated, I can't even say what it was, image. And I was chuffed that I could have maps I could download to give you some sort of image of what you've got in the real world. Now, compared to Google Earth now and Google Maps, compared to what I used to see, it's like probably putting on a pair of glasses, isn't it? It's completely different. But I've just been watching, I watched a couple of videos. So there's the one from the guy from GameTech Radio Paratelli. There was another Xbox showcase after the main one, and he's on there talking to Microsoft about how it's going, how they're getting it from there to console, how it's all going to work. Yeah, which is pretty interesting. And there's another one I was watching where talking from the team and how they're bringing out these monthly updates to really progress. God knows how big this files will be over a year or so. It'd be horrendous to think about, to be honest. But then I saw some videos for the Thrustmaster. And the one, I think there was one there for about $79.99.
It's the one where it joins together, but it comes apart, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's a Hotas controller.
That's correct. Now, if I go back to where I was there. So I was on Thrustmaster's website as we were talking. I was just having a quick look. And there's one there, for example, which they're telling you, I'll go to the info. I'm just going to bring it up there. Is it? There we go, yeah. So this one's ideal for PC and Xbox, which will be recommended for Elite Dangerous and stuff like that. It says it will work with the X Series X. And but that one there, so what's that one called? That's called the T-Flight Hotas 1.
Yes.
Now, the one he was showing was the Thrustmaster T-Flight Hotas 1, but it says it's for Xbox One and Windows, so Series X.
Yeah,
this one, it looks the same. There's not much in it.
No, there's not a lot. Basically, I think it might be like one of the buttons or something or other for the Nexus button or something.
If I go back 1 minute, bear with me. So the original one that I saw, which I think it says on the website, is $79.99.
Yeah.
The one on the Amazon I'm looking at is $69.99, and you look where the joystick is, and if you look underneath that, where you got the ring and you got that part of the circle of the base, nothing there. Okay.
Yeah.
The new one
has the Nexus button and the
so it's got the control buttons for your controller.
Yeah, they're all on there.
Yeah, share button and everything else.
And it still comes apart, so it's put together as one solid unit, but you can actually play it. There's a couple of Allen keys underneath.
That's it.
You undo those, and it separates them out. There's got a lead, and then it just plugs in, and then you can have like the thrust part on one side and the Hotas on the other. I had basically that exact one, but it was PlayStation. And this is going back sort of like PlayStation 3 generation, because this design's been around for an age.
If it works, I suppose. Thrustmaster are a good company, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's a good quality product. I'm not knocking it. I mean, nowadays I have a different one. I've got the Logitech X52. So I've just put a link in there, Steve, so you can see the one I've got. And that's a great controller as well, but that is just solely PC. But there's not much out there in terms of Xbox controllers that are Hotas.
No, but it's a thing. This is more because of Flight Sim now. So I can see the one you got there. Oh, okay, yeah, I get that one. Now there is one. I can close it.
While you're going on that one, the difference is in terms of the one that I've got on mine is basically there's more sort of like dials and stuff like that more customization, and there's also more sort of triggers and two hat Hotas on the main control, the main stick and that sort of thing, and rocker switches and a display as well. It's it's a lovely controller to use on a PC. It really is, and that's about between about 120 to 180 pounds, depending on where you go.
So I'm now going to give you another one, because now obviously it's just something you don't jump into unless you're going to go for it in a big way. Now, obviously for me, I'm going to be jumping back into Flight Sim after a number of years of not playing it.
I would hold off until you're sure with it. It's what
exactly. Now have a look at this one. It has 189 programmable controls, RGB lighting.
Yeah, it's another Logitech one.
Yeah, and I've seen this lit up. It looks really nice.
Yeah, that's the model up from the one I've got. That's the X56 Hotas.
Yeah.
It's
excellent quality.
Yeah, and it is. It'll be quite heavy, I would have thought, with that as well. But if you look at, if you're getting into sort of like the flight simulator sort of thing, and then that decided, you did decide to go PC, the world's your oyster in terms of how much money you're going to spend on this, because this is this is
you have to buy a PC first. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, no, but this is going, this is where, as a PC player, I'm looking at that and it's like 244 for the X56, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Whereas, probably you'd have to do the Heimlich maneuver on a console player normally for even considering anything like that.
Yeah, and then there's a Logitech one there, which has the three levers for on an airplane you can have. They come down, and then it's got the little steering wheel. But I don't like that idea. You got to mount that in a nice way on something to use it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming if you were going to do that on PC and use it on a desk, I get that. And that's got a Pro Flight yoke system with it. But I was watching a video of this guy. What was he flying? He tried it first of all on the Xbox with the Star Wars game, and then he did it then he plugged it into the PC. Because on this one here, the Thrustmaster one I was looking at that you can use for either, there is a switch on the side which goes PC or Xbox, and so you just click it over and it will then just be ready to go.
So what, the X56?
No, the I don't bear with me, just that one. No, the
Thrustmaster.
The Thrustmaster Flight Hotas one for Windows, Xbox One and Windows.
Yeah, that's basically exactly the same as it was on the PlayStation as well. Because it's also available on the PS4 and PS5 as well. Of course it will be.
Yeah.
So I don't think it actually was on the Xbox One or 360.
No,
I think this is sort of like the first time they've brought it to Xbox.
Yeah, I think, and this is only because of Flight Sim, basically. Yeah. So, if you were going to turn your flaps and everything else, you can, when you grab hold of that stick, you can turn it left and right, actually, in your hand. That's the movement it gives you, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think that the other one was on PlayStation. I think that they brought it in for Ace Combat.
Right.
I think that was when they released it on PlayStation. So, it's like quite a while ago.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the Thrustmaster is an excellent controller. It's not as well built as the Logitech X52 or probably the X56. I've not seen the 56 in real life, but if it's anything to judge by what my X52 is like, it'll be awesome.
Yeah, I did have one for a joystick for PC at one point, going back so many years, and I had a bit of fun with it. And I was watching I presume if it was an add-on or it was a PC add-on. I don't know. I was watching someone flying a Spitfire, and he went through it as if he went through the. I was watching the video. He went through and said that the windsock's telling us the way the speed is, so we need to go this way because this plane won't like the wind in the wrong direction. And he was literally a complete nerd, and I loved what he was telling you and what he was doing on the operation of that Spitfire. I get it. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot there to do, but he was explaining it. He was telling you what each dial meant, and also down the side, and also that before you take off, you don't close the window at the top and slide it across and stuff like that. And he was at Duxford, and he took off around Duxford, just went round through the countryside and flew back and landed again. Did a couple of barrel rolls. I love Spitfires. They're wicked.
Yeah.
But
I mean that Thrustmaster one that you're looking at, it's great because if you set the right stick up for your rudder control and your left one, obviously you've got your speed control, but then you've got the rocker switches on your front fingers, so you can use that for your I can't remember which picture can't remember which way around to go. One's horizontal, one's vertical, but for the horizontal stuff, is it yaw, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can use that to rock for setting the yaw on your plane. Yeah. So and there's loads of stuff. I mean, when I was playing a lot of Elite Dangerous on the PC, I was rocking the X52. I had it more or less.
Do you know what? I can't remember for the life of me because I've got to say this. So when I went to CEX one year, me and Nat said let's push in on Elite Dangerous, see if we can get in there. We explained that we did a podcast at the time who was for. Yeah, he said, we'll get you on the 3D one with the flight stick all in one. And
that was the one we went to.
No, I don't think it was. This was one before that. You weren't with me. This is when Fable.
All right. Well,
this was before. So Nats and I, we went across and we got to play the 3D version with using the flight sticks as well.
Yeah.
It's one of the most pleasurable experiences you're ever going to get to fly a spaceship.
Yeah.
And also what was really weird was when you look down at your hands, you were operating the flight, you were operating the actual, the ship. Yeah.
I am just at this moment showing Steve my VR headset.
Yeah.
And of course, don't forget, one half of the stick.
Yeah, they're very solid, aren't they? Very.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually really quite light, but it is, solid. It's the X52. It's great. Yeah. It's a great controller. If anybody's got a PC and considering it, it's definitely well worth getting it. And I recommend the Thrustmaster. The only reason why I got rid of the Thrustmaster was because I upgraded to the X52, and that was because it had more buttons, more dials, and all that sort of stuff. It wasn't because it was a bad
stick. It's really weird. It's funny, on the Thrustmaster website, the picture is with the Xbox buttons on it.
Yeah.
But it says it's $79.99.
Yeah, that's a normal price.
No, because if I go onto Amazon, it's $99.
The recommended retail price.
But when you go, if you just go back one, you got the first Thrustmaster, which was $79.99 down to $69.99, but hasn't got the Xbox buttons.
Right.
And then the other one, which is, I say, near identical, other than it says this flight stick is for Windows and Xbox One and works on the Xbox Series X. But then when you go to their website, which I'm on at the minute, and you've got the T-Flight Hotas one, the picture there has got that in, and it says it's $79.99. So,
but there's also more buying choices from $89.99.
And I'm going to say this now, and I know I haven't spoken to Glyn in an age, and I don't know if he listens to the show anymore, but I do. I haven't spoken to him for a little while. But his little fetish was the Thrustmaster for the steering wheel.
Yeah, and now the steering wheels, it really goes up a lot in value.
It does, and if you look at some of those steering wheels from that point of view for...
you're £400. It's the cost of a console.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing this one here. There's one here called the TSXW Racer Sparco P310 competition mode. €699, and they are very well built. And even when you look at the Formula One add-on wheel, it's a Formula One. It's what you see they got when they unplug them off the F1 car.
Yeah.
And the pedal set is, so high. The pedal set is €200 on its own. You know what I mean? And you can do add-ons for bits and pieces as well. It's just incredible. And you don't want to go down that route because you'll end up being broke.
It's a virtual license to print money in terms of, sort of like all of the controllers and stuff like that. I mean, even on, normal Xbox, a Hori racing wheel's like 109, or the Logitech G920, 270.
I did have with my Xbox 360. Was it 360? I had a steering wheel and pedals for the Xbox. It was promotioned with it, and I built a rig and was playing Forza, and it had the feedback on the wheel as well.
Yeah,
and I had so much fun with that.
What I would say, Steve, is have a look at Argos.
See, it's very confusing. So that one there,
it's £80. It's the same one.
Yeah. So it's odd, isn't it? And then so I'm on the website. Why Amazon are actually going for a bit more, I don't know.
Probably because because people buy it from them, whereas you can get the Thrustmaster for Xbox One and PC from Argos for $79.99.
Now, the only other question, okay, what's the connections?
USB
into the front.
Yeah.
And do you need a separate USB, or does one come in the box?
Well, when I had it, it came with it. Everything, all the connectors were all with it.
And also, how long is the lead?
Quite long.
You can see I'm not saying I'm going
to.
Obviously, I'm not going to just jump in now because it'd be a waste of money.
Yeah.
I would like to
jump in tomorrow when you're going past Argos.
Yeah. No. It'd be a waste of money at the minute, obviously. I mean, I want to make sure I can get back into it.
Well, no, you could play Star Wars Squadrons and Elite Dangerous and all that on it at the moment.
But my only issue is how I have it in front of my screen, which because that for me, how I play games.
Well, I've seen it because obviously I'm in a lot of Facebook groups as well. And do you have arms on your chair?
Well, there is this chair I do have, which one day may disappear and I'll get something else.
Yeah, because go on.
I can't show you now, but it's just here. It looks like a gaming chair, but it isn't. It came from something else for someone. It's actually got vibration pads in and all sorts. It was very much it. But there is palm bits on the side of it. Yeah,
well, quite a lot of people build something to rest on the arms of the chair.
Like you get the like when you get a dinner table for your lap.
Yeah.
One of those trays or something that you can extend, and do you know what I'm saying? Or
I know what you're saying, but like I said, a lot of people, they'll just get some wood and build something so that it just rests on the arms, so that they can then put the controller on. I've seen some people actually build things so that it just permanently stays on at the end of the arm of each side of the chair. I mean, personally, I wouldn't do that because that would limit your chair somewhat.
Yeah.
But if you go into an Elite Dangerous Facebook group, there normally is people posting stuff like that. So.
But I think that's what. And you've probably been saying this, and you'll probably say this to people who's listening now. You've been saying it for years that it's the way to play games like that.
Yeah, it's like if you're doing a driving game, the better experience is with a wheel. I know that. I just don't want the bulk of a steering wheel. I'm happy with playing it with a controller, but in terms of flight sims or games like Elite Dangerous or Star Wars Squadrons, those sort of games, this is a perfect controller for them because it's designed for that sort of play. So fill your boots, get one of these. They're absolutely fantastic. They lift the game much better than if it's just a normal controller.
Yeah.
No, there's no two ways about it.
Yeah. I was just trying to think though, obviously from a PC perspective, because obviously I've played with a train, shall we say, simulator, and with the controllers, I think sometimes you're using a mouse to point to.
Yeah, you probably just use a stick.
But how does that, if you were to use that, for example, plugged in to fly a plane, how do you go, say you would look up, for example, to the, you go to a jumbo jet or a easy jet, because I watched a flight from Manchester to Tenerife.
Yeah.
And an easy jet plane, and you look above and you've got all those dials at the top, switches and knobs and buttons. With the PC, you could see he was using his mouse and he was flicking buttons and doing whatever he needs to do. Okay. But using this controller, how are you going to do some of that work?
I think that will depend upon how it's actually set up, because obviously games these days, most games, even on consoles, you can manually tweak the keyboard layout.
Do you have a mount? So if you were to use the Thrustmaster, for example, with Flight Sim for yourself.
Well, shall we say about like Elite Dangerous, right? It's a game where I've used it.
Yeah. So if there's any dials as well, you need to turn and tweak and turn and whatever to get that machine up in the air or up in space or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you use a mouse separately plugged into that, or is there a different way?
I didn't use a mouse on Elite Dangerous because, to be honest, a mouse is an absolute pain in the backside on there. In terms of, like, for example, the way that Elite Dangerous works is there are different ways of setting up. You know, you can, for every key, you can assign a different key for it to do. So I took the time, and it took a long time to go through all of those controls and set up all of the things that I really wanted to use on my Satec X52. So, you know, it'd be like drop landing gear. I pressed the button I wanted to do it to drop the landing gear. Raise landing gear. I pressed the button, you know, and all of this, that, and the other, so that when I actually came to play the game, I didn't actually have to use anything else other than the controller, apart from the odd thing, which was a very seldom used thing. So, for example, I never used missiles on Elite Dangerous, so, you know, you can get them sort of thing. No, not missiles. Limpets, that was it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just assigned a different sort of key to it. And it'd be a keyboard key, so I'd have to move my hand from the
picture I'm showing you a part of this because I'm looking at a video at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's showing you where the buttons are and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's all pretty standard, Steve.
But what's that at the back, right? I can see the switch for Xbox and PC, but also in there is a Ethernet cable. Oh, I'm sure that's what it is.
No, I think it'd probably be
now? I'm wondering, is that for updates? For a PC point of view, to update it,
no, because it'd connect through. Well, the one that I had connected through USB. This did not go into the network. It connected to USB, and it got any updates directly that way in terms of firmware. So they're really easy to use. Literally just plug and play.
That's right. I'm wondering if this is going to have. Are they going to have an app for it? You know, like with so you haven't seen my headphones. So with the headphones, when I turn them on, like the controller, because I've updated the controller twice in the last week. You can have you would have the flight stick in there, and I'm wondering whether you can program the buttons via the Xbox.
I think it'll depend game for game, but probably will be able to.
Yeah. Because
you can normally do it in game. That's the point I was making, Steve.
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, there's going to be more than just Microsoft Flight Simulator that this will work with.
Oh yeah,
and there's 79 reviews on Amazon as well, so I would have a look on Argos. So I would have a look on there if I were you.
But it's just, I mean, I will look at might even look at some more videos tonight when we finish. So I've been watching a few different planes and stuff. That, you know, I mean, obviously, the reviews for the Xbox won't come out maybe for a few more days just yet.
Yeah,
it's not for a week yet.
I mean, it is a long time since I had this controller, the Thrustmaster that you're looking at. You know, I'm talking like 8 years, something like that. But from what I remember of it, I think that there was different profiles as well you could have.
Yeah.
So if you look at the top view, there is the 3 buttons that are not the Nexus button, and the other 2, the ones that are on the other side where there's the accelerator sort of switch.
Yeah, I'm looking at the back of that at the minute, and you've got like a paddle there with some buttons.
Yeah, where the paddle is, those 3 buttons, I think that they're the ones that control
B4 and B3 as they're called when I zoom into it, and 9 as well. It's just 3 buttons there.
Yeah, but just get it, Steve. I don't think that you'll regret it as a purchase, especially not if you get into Microsoft Flight Simulator.
I had a lot of pleasure with it, and I know it's going to be so much more visually than it was when I played it then, and I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then it was the same when I used to have. I'd have flights in for a helicopter at one point as well. That was hard work. But yeah, no, I will do a bit more digging. I'm sure there'll be some more videos out leading up to this time next week when it's released.
Yeah,
because the box is branded with the Series X on the side.
Yeah, interestingly, the picture in Argos is saying recommended for Elite Dangerous, not Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yeah,
it's also compatible with the Thrustmaster T flight rudder pedals, which are sold separately.
Anyhow, we better move on. I could be talking about this for hours because it's passionate at the minute.
Okay,
we're getting on. So
let's move on to movies, TV, and streaming.
In quest of a better life,
Okay, movies, TV, and streaming. And first off, we'll have a couple of RRPs. I think we never mentioned this, or I never mentioned this the other last week for the show. And I don't think it happened when we recorded the first one, but it is like nearly 2 weeks ago. Richard Donner, the filmmaker who helped create the modern superhero blockbuster with 1978 Superman, which I re-watched actually yesterday, and mastered the buddy comedy with like Lethal Weapon franchise, died on the 5th of July at the ripe old age of 91. He died in Los Angeles, according to a spokesman. He first came to fame with his first feature of 1976, The Omen, and the then unheard of offer followed of $1 million to direct Superman. And obviously we know everything that's happened since then, and also the whole controversy over the Donner cut. At least we got that before he died as well. That was a good thing, but a well-respected sort of director. The heads of Marvel Studio, DC Entertainment, actually, producers of most of today's superheroes, both worked with Donner when they were starting out in Hollywood, which is interesting as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, The Omen was a big movie that I adore. Really, it's one of my all-time favourite horror flicks. And for him, it was the break he needed.
Absolutely.
Which was, there's a fantastic documentary on the Blu-ray box that I've got of him talking about how it will come to be. He's great, and it's great. I've got him. He's on the documentaries, the two horror ones that I spoke about before. He's in them as well. So it's nice there's something there to go back to on him. He did a good stint at 91. So yeah, very sad, but I say we've all got to go one day. It's always a shock when you hear people that you sort of idolise to a certain degree.
Yeah. It's a great shame we've lost a good director, but it's not like he's been making films recently. But it's a lot of the
what he leaves behind.
It's a hell of a legacy.
And some of the things he's been getting up to over the years, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, The Goonies as well, and all these sort of films will live on. The next generation will be watching them, and he's got something there for life.
Yeah, it's quite a nice quote from Steven Spielberg that said that Dick had such a powerful command of his movies and was so gifted across so many genres. Being in his circle was akin to hanging out with your favourite coach, smartest professor, fiercest motivator, most endearing friend, staunchest ally, and of course the greatest Goonie of all. He was all kid, all heart, all the time. I can't believe he's gone, but his husky, hearty laugh will stay with me always.
Real shame, yeah.
Yeah, well said by Steven Spielberg there as well. Do you want to do the other obituary today that we've just heard of?
Well, we were just discussing before we came on air that Tom O'Connor's passed away. Now, for you that are our age, you will remember a TV show called 3-2-1 with Dusty Bin, which he became famous for with using his hands and everything else. He was 81, unfortunately, but people are popping off all the time these days. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise.
It just came on my phone. I say before we went to switch on here.
Yeah, it was also on the news as well, but he was on sort of like Countdown, obviously 3-2-1, but I think that probably Ted Rogers was more famous for the Three Fingers, wasn't he?
Yeah, of course he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did a stint doing it, didn't he? I'm sure he did, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think he might have been for a short time, but he also was on The Comedians, which was an old comedy as well. I think evidently he was on Blankety Blank. I don't remember him being on there.
I remember. So when Terry Wogan gave that up, you had the comedian. I can't think of the guy. He used to dress up as women quite a lot in some of the sketches he did.
Yeah.
Les Dawson. There we go.
Les Dawson.
He did it for a while.
I suppose he would have been one of the celebrities on Blankety Blank, wouldn't he? Rather than the host.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. But it was also on Countdown as well, which is a British quiz show on Channel 4. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I grew up on him. I remember, watching him on TV. It's a shame that we lost him, but it comes to all of us, doesn't it? So
unfortunately, yes, it does.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about Doctor Who earlier in the week, weren't we? And I think it's about
that, actually.
I think it's about time that they did what they did after Sylvester McCoy and give it a 10-year hiatus. And you were like, "I'll be dead in 10 years' time."
So briefly on that, I'm not going to tell the guy's name because I haven't got the notes to hand. But there was a film that you saw and I saw called Yesterday about a guy that somehow woke up when the Beatles didn't exist and started to
release their songs
in this world.
Doing the rounds on Sky Movies at the moment.
Is it? Yeah. And he apparently is in line to take over from the Doctor Who we have at the moment. So interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk for hours and we haven't got hours, but again, it depends how he plays it. And if you can play a kooky Doctor, I'll be all for it.
I just don't feel like he's got the presence for Doctor Who personally.
Why are you saying that? When I first saw
Himesh Patel, his name is, by the way.
When I first saw Matt Smith, we didn't have an inkling of what this guy was going to be up to. We didn't know how good, and he moulded the Doctor into his.
It did. Yeah, it did. I mean, by the time he left, I was sad to see him go, but it took me a good year to get used to him.
Yeah.
Where especially when you're coming off David Tennant,
who's top of the.
Yeah, I mean,
he always will be. I think. I mean, I know we got our favourites that we grew up with as kids in the original era of Doctor Who, and not what we would class probably as the reboot, if we're going to call it that, with Christopher Eccleston starting that off.
But to be honest, Christopher Eccleston played a fine Doctor Who as well.
Oh, of course he did. Yeah, he did. It just was very short, wasn't it?
But it's like like I was saying when we were talking, it's just. I just think that the BBC, Doctor Who, has a love-hate relationship with it, and they love it until they suddenly start to feel resentful towards it because it gets good. And when you had Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant and Matt Smith, they were the highs of Doctor Who, and then it's just been going worse and worse, and it's not because of the actors. Peter Capaldi's brilliant. Jodie Whittaker is a brilliant actress. It's
down to the scripts at the end of the day.
Awfully appalling scripts, and it is just the way that they decided to pee all over 50-odd years of Doctor Who history by rewriting Doctor Who's history.
Which I haven't yet, and that's as far as we're going to go because I still haven't watched it. They're on my box, but yeah.
Seriously, mate, never watch it because it'll ruin Doctor Who for you for the rest of your life. But you're going to have to watch it before the next series anyway, because I'm quite sure that that's going to be taken forward on the show in terms of story.
They could actually change that. They can always rewind, can't they?
What they should have done is say that the Master was actually lying and just.
I don't lying about what I don't want to know. Go on. We move on anyway.
Come on, that the Master's in that episode. It was highly advertised.
I know the Master's in it. That's one of them. But anyway, moving on then, because I don't want to.
I'm not going to spoil it for you, but honestly, it was a.
I know it's your gripe, and I know that because every time I bring it up, your heckles get up and the horns come out of your head, and you're on your soapbox.
I hate what they did to Doctor Who. and I'm not alone. And it's not because it ruined my childhood, because it didn't. You know, I know a lot. You always get that thing of, oh, you know, you've ruined my childhood, sort of like stereotype that they do. It's not that. It's just that they just
Anyway,
have writers who don't understand the story.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So, do you want to talk about Loki quickly? Because it's something I don't want to talk about, but you want to mention it because telling me anything.
So on the last episode, I did some predictions for Loki when I was talking to myself, and I was wrong. And I'm quite happy I was wrong because I really enjoyed the ending. So don't mind admitting that I'd got that one wrong. But it was a great, you know, I really enjoyed the show. I know that we've had people in the Facebook group saying how little they liked the show, as well as the normal people saying who just have hatred for stuff anyway. But in terms of it, I think it was a really good show. It was different. Marvel have given us 3 completely different types of show, with WandaVision, with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and with Loki. And the great news is, for some of us, is that Loki's going to have a season 2. And that was confirmed right at the very end of Loki season 1. So it'd be nice to have Tom Hiddleston back as Loki, and other characters who were in there, which I'm not going to mention because I don't think you've still not seen it, have you, Steve?
No, I haven't, and I will get around to it.
Okay. Probably.
I'm hearing to say I've heard a few people say they weren't too keen, and I need to. It's.
I think it's fair to say that it's been a very mixed bag in terms of its reception. You know, there's been, because you know I'm in a lot of different groups like you are, but you know I'm going to Marvel groups, and it seems to be equal parts. Oh, I hated it, and oh, it was brilliant. So it's obviously very Marmite, which is fine because this sort of stuff is at the best of times anyway, you know. And it seems to me that nowadays people like jumping on the bandwagon of knocking Marvel, you know, and Disney and stuff like that. All I care about is just having something that was entertaining, and I was entertained by it, and that's as far as it goes, really. You know, it's not Shakespeare in the Park after all.
No. So, and quickly, I'll just mention this because I did put it on the group, but it looks like we're getting another Star Trek movie.
Yay!
Bit quiet on what's going on with it, although we do know that J.J. Abrams is involved, as he was with the last 3 movies on the Kelvin timeline. And Matt Shankman of WandaVision is also getting involved with the script, with also Geneva Robinson as well.
And Lindsay Beer as well.
And Lindsay Beer. All beers around the house for that one. Interesting to say, this again is very small news at the minute. We won't know whether we're going to be using the same characters for the timeline we've got.
I had heard a rumour that evidently Chris Pine and Zachary Quintana are involved. That was another rumour I'd heard. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. But there was some musings, shall we say.
I'm sure it'll come. Well, the news will eventually filter down. I mean, there are a couple of Star Trek cons going on in America coming up this year, and they may release some information there. Even with a little teaser trailer, maybe, to just whet our appetite.
I really don't think so, though.
Well, no, it'd be literally just Star Trek's coming out, and that's it. And it might say who's going to be in it. Maybe it might, you know. I mean, I won't go into the movie database right now because I've got 2 tabs that are open on there, and I don't want to miss what I've been putting in. But yeah, we'll see.
Fair enough. Okay, so we'll go to the cinema releases then in that case. So 20th of July, we've got The Nest, followed by the 23rd, we've got Wrath of Man, Old, Raiders of Justice, Settlers, and The World to Come.
Is that this week?
That's this week.
Yeah, okay. And next week is the Sparks Brothers, which I'm going to go and see. Yay! Going to cinema.
Yay!
I did have an email from Leodian just saying that we know you're coming shortly. We're still going to sanitize the place, but some of the restrictions will be lifted a little bit. I don't know if that means they're going to open up the rest of the seats that we were spaced out for.
Yeah, I think that they are. And
I don't know. Well, I'll wait and see because I'm not going for another week yet. It's not this week. It'll be the week after I'm going.
I mean, what's your take on all of this, Steve? Let's get political.
They're bonkers. I could swear, but I'm not going to swear because we like not to. But
we like
I
to
reckon,
try.
I reckon that the government have not got the balls to say, do you know what? We're now up to 50,000 people with COVID. It's rising again. We have got to put a stop to this. And whether or not this is down to stupidity of people in the next bracket down that should be getting the injections, whether they're getting the injections, is whether they think, I don't need to have this injection. I don't know. I really don't know. But they need to be done. And I think we have to stay, I say not locked down, but we should be as we are now to a certain degree.
Yeah, I don't think that we should be moving in any direction because the number's going up. So obviously things are going wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, this is obviously, completely personal kind of point of view, but I can tell you one thing right now. If my local cinema are not continuing with the arrangements as to when I went, I will not be going to the cinema again until it's all over and done with. Because I just don't think it's not worth risking myself or my family.
I've seen the pictures. It's the hottest day of the year today.
Yeah.
And I've seen the pictures down the road in Bournemouth on the beach, and it's frightening to think they're all mingling like that.
Yeah. And I mean, we haven't touched on the fact of the reason why we didn't record a show last week, which was the football. But I don't think that there was any evidence of social distancing on anything that was on the TV at all in terms of football that was on the news. There was no evidence of social distancing at all. It was just like a normal day pre-COVID. And I am not having a go at the football for that. And I think it is disgusting the racial hatred that came out in the football as well.
Yep, they're still trying to promote that, and that's why England go on their knees. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I don't want to go into my little soapbox on that because I don't want to get into trouble. But horrendous. But I think this so-called Freedom Day is not a Freedom Day. It's a license to.
It's a stupidity day. And do you know that there are 1,200 scientists from across the world that have actually, been complaining about England and saying that it's actually going to put other countries in danger?
Yeah. I mean, the health secretary just got COVID.
Yeah. And Boris and Rishi were both going to not bother to isolate.
They just said they had a U-turn on that one. I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah, I think that was because of how much hit the fan, to be quite honest with that, because everything, the TV exploded, the internet exploded with it all, just because of the, that approach. They should be leading by example. They are the leaders of the country. They should be leading us all by example. And that was not given a good example.
No.
But at least they have backtracked anyway. That's
anyway, so Blu-ray DVD.
Blu-ray DVD, yeah.
So you've highlighted The Revenge of Frankenstein and The Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll. Looking through their...
True Romance limited edition 4K for the Quentin Tarantino fans.
Yeah, ran in 4K Blu-ray. I think that is a second sight one. I might be, I'm not too sure. I did actually my last week. My copy of The Craze turned up from Second Sight Special Edition.
Yep. Any good?
Oh, I love it really. I just think it's brilliant. Really good. It doesn't seem to age too badly, but I do like the version of the Spandau Ballet Boys, we say, and also with their mum played by Billie Whitelaw. And if you don't know who she is, she was the nanny in the Omen,
right?
And she's a great actress. So so obviously we're slowing down. Rumours were rumours, but they're now more actually confirmed. But we do have The Thing in 4K being released in September. It's available on Amazon US at the moment to order, but not on the UK as yet. But I will be definitely purchasing that one.
And just thinking about it, isn't Dune 4K being released shortly as well?
I think that's now going to be in August, isn't it? When it comes out?
Yeah, I think it's next month. That's only just over a week away, isn't it?
Because I do have, obviously we do pre-order stuff because of release dates. Let's talk about Star Trek for a minute. We have been too boring.
Go on then.
Star Trek, the first four movies are now available to pre-order on 4K.
Yeah, they are. And they're well expensive.
Now, they're the same. It's going to be the same price as Indiana Jones box collection.
Which was also well expensive.
Yeah. And the same price as the Back to the Future box set, which you did purchase
I didn't pay that much for it.
I think you may well have done. I'm not too sure.
I think it was about 60 quid.
Well, that's neither here. That's only pennies in it, though. To be honest,
It's a $5 per movie less.
But anyway, now. So what's happening with the Star Trek one? So we're getting Star Trek 1, 2, 3, and 4, motion picture, Vacant. I suppose it's the right trilogy because the fourth one will finish with Voyage Home. So on that storyline, you've got the 3 films there. So then they're bringing out the next 3 as a box set, and then the next 3 after that. That's how they're doing it. Now, I get that if you were to release this as a complete box set with all movies, that would be a little bit hard to swallow as a purchase.
I understand why they're doing it, but considering on the Blu-ray versions, they did all of the original series and then all of the next generation as 2 different box sets.
But remember, Blu-ray is much cheaper than it is for the others.
Maybe so, but it was also.
I can see them up there. I can see the 2 box sets that I've got, which are I think were the first time they came around.
Yeah.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 films in the first box set.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, and this is my point: is if it's 80 quid, which it is, I think that having the 6 movies of the original series in one box set would have been more stomachable than having the 4 movies for 80 quid and knowing you're still going to have to buy another box set if you just want the first 4 movies, or first 6 movies.
Well, I think because of the way it's going to work, the next 3 movies are going to be ones with Kirk and Spock in it, if you know what I mean, the crew, original crew. Because it's also, it will have Kirk because it will have Generations as well as the 3rd film, if I'm working this right. So Generations will be the 3rd of that next box set, along with Star Trek.
First Contact.
First Contact and The Undiscovered Country.
The Undiscovered Country's good. First Contact's good. Generations is
meh. It's all right. It's okay.
It's a bit meh.
But I quite like it.
And Star Trek 5. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So 3. So 3. So that'd be 5, 6, 5, and 6. So Star Trek 5. Star Trek 6, which would be Undiscovered Country.
Yeah, Star Trek 7.
Then it'll be Generation.
Yeah.
That'll be the next box set. So that's got all your Kirk in all 3 of those.
So there's only going to be 3 in that one.
Yeah. Then the other one's going to be 3 as well, I think. I think it's 3.
Yeah, it's cash cow bean milked.
Well, Star Wars has been cash cows for so much as well, and
Yeah, but to be fair,
they were doing them individually as well, which was nice.
Yeah, but to be fair, they were all done individually, and you would get the whole lot of them. So, and that was a massively expensive collection, but it was all 9 movies. Yeah. Whereas you actually look in terms of cost equivalent, this is the same, more or less, as that large Star Wars collection. But I personally think if they wanted to charge 80 quid, that's fine, but they should have done Star Trek 1 to 6, end up at the Undiscovered Country, and then Generations, which was predominantly a Next Generation film, and then end on Nemesis, and that is your second box set. Exactly the same way as they did with the Blu-ray. And then I think that charging £80 for each one of those would have been reasonable, but I think it's completely unreasonable what they're charging for these. When it's, that's £240 if you want to get all 3, all of the movies. And let's face it, they'll do a Kelvin timeline one as well, I have no doubt.
I've already got them anyway. They're already out.
Yeah, I know, but they'll re-release them in special box set sort of packaging.
I've got the box there in a box set anyway.
But
they're already done.
The one good bit of news about all of this in terms of 4K Star Trek is the director's cut coming to 4K.
Which is only just
of the motion picture.
As the guys on the Inglourious Trek said in their last podcast, which I listened to, they were talking about the human venture is just beginning because they literally just going to start dealing with it. So it won't be still a long while off yet.
They said it was going to be 8 months.
Yeah, because one of the guys from Inglourious Trek is involved in making it. He's actually part of the team that's doing the restoration process. But that's huge and. Be interesting. That'd be the cream of what we got coming. So the pre-order for June. I'm just looking at Amazon actually. Curiosity. I don't think it gives a release date. Oh, here we go. End of the month. End of August. think.
Yeah. Shipping date 30th of the 8th.
Yeah, but I do have a Dario Argento Arrow box set coming out. One of my favourites, which is the Crystal Plumage one, is that's coming soon. That's on 4K. And there's rumours now that apparently we're going to be seeing Criterion releasing 4K from their collection. I hope that we get to see those on our on the UK shores, because there is a slight difference between the American Criterion collection and the UK version. And one certain film that isn't out over here. I'm not going to go into the story about Blu-ray players that play Region 1 and Region 2 or whatever. But The Great Escape is out on Criterion in the US, but it's not over here.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say about that one. I did get my back up a little bit.
I don't know whether or not you've seen on Zavvi as well, but they've got the Doctor Collection Fallout Nuka Cola Metal Sign triple pack. Been going on the homepage, that's on there. I thought that would have been right up your street.
Well, I've got a couple of things that are sitting in Zavvi's inbox, but I'm waiting for them to be pressed yet, so I'm fine as it is at the minute. Thank you very much. So Blu-rays are a bit tight this month. I don't know what films. There's probably a few bits and pieces that are coming out this time of year. Will be coming out later in the year. I think Spiral's got a release date on 4K UHD as well. Should we go to cinema charts? Because I'm getting too hot in this room. I'm going to pass out at some point.
Yeah, go on then. Do you want to do the cinema charts out of Blu-ray?
Oh, yeah. So up from 6 to 5 for the kiddies, we have got the Tom and Jerry movie. In at 4, we got the new Space Jam movie.
I think that's the old Space Jam one, isn't it?
Or is it the new one that's just coming out?
No, it's the. I don't know.
Anyway,
the new one's got a subline, hasn't it? It's a new legacy.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, I'm not interested in it. But so number 3 at 3, we got Zack Snyder Justice League. Down from 1 to 2, we got Godzilla vs Kong, and up from 2 to 1, we have Mortal Kombat.
Okay, so for Blu-ray and DVD charts, we've got a re-entry of Doctor Who, the collection season 10. At number 4, down from 3, Godzilla vs Kong. At number 3, a re-entry of Space Jam. At number 2, up from 72, is Logan. And at number 1, a new entry is Mortal Kombat 2021. So, Steve, what have you been watching?
So there was one film that I was looking into that people were starting to watch, and I hadn't had a chance to watch it yet, not realising that we were going to get 3 films to see. So if you've been under a rock and don't even know nothing about this, Haydn, we have Fear Street Part 1, 1994, Fear Street Part 2, which is 1978, and Part 3, Fear Street, is 1666, which I haven't seen yet. I've watched Part 1 and Part 2. Without giving too much away, a circle of teenage friends accidentally encounter an evil ancient being that's responsible for a series of brutal murders that plagued the town for over 300 years. Hence the 300 years in the titles for the 3 films. You can see where this is going. You're going to see different eras regarding the killings that are going on in a town called Shadyside. Very much, it is a horror flick. It will have a bit of gore in it, but I do urge you to watch it if you did like sort of Stranger Things. It's on the same vibe, and it's ironic that in Part 2 we had one of the actresses, her name is Sadie Sink, who plays Ziggy, was a member of the Stranger Things kids. She was the one that rolled out a bit later in the series with the skateboard.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling it's just like, is she in the right era for those 2 worlds to sort of join somewhere, maybe? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is although it's like Shady Street Part 1, 1994. This is based in 1994, isn't it? It's made. It's a new movie. It's just based in 94. Is that right? The
second one is in 1978.
Which
and the third film is in 1666.
Yeah, I thought they would have gone the other way around. Really,
well, watching the way I can't. It's so much I could talk about this film. I don't want to give any of it away. But with all the killings that are going on in 1994, go back to 1666, and so in 1994 it's all set around the era of the school and everything else. What's great about the second one, it's based when they're at a camp. You know, like the Americans go on these little, they kick their kids away for 6 weeks, don't they? And they go on these little camp trips.
Yeah.
So it has a little Friday the 13th vibe to it for me, because there's a guy running around with an axe and he's covered with a cloth over his head, and I won't say the reasons why or why he's in that position. there are some brutal kings in it. There is. Oh, I didn't say is. You know the meat slicers you can get off of doing bread. We got the wires in it. That was my missus turned away at that point, but she's really enjoyed them so far. And I think there's a huge hit on their hands with these three. They have gone a bit viral. All I can say is definitely go and check them out. They're well worth a watch.
It's 1666. That's not the Salem witch trials, is it?
No, but it's to do. This is to do with witches anyway.
Yeah.
And but it is brilliant. It's very well put together.
I'd seen it advertised, just not sort of.
They made notes of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the actors and actresses that are in this, they've all been all sorts of things. There's one guy in the second one who I'd seen in Halloween, with the recent new Halloween movie. He didn't fare too much there with Michael Myers, and to be honest, he didn't fare too much in 1978 either, bless him. He's had a bit of a career of losing his head or two. But yeah, it's got that feel. That's got that. The 1978, because they use music from the era, so you're listening to the Buzzcocks in 1978. You know, you can hear music in 1994 from there as well. So, but if you liked the idea of Stranger Things, but this I think goes a bit more because it's a bit more adult. Even though we're talking about teenagers, about 16 maybe, and also the little kids in the camp, bless them. It's really good, and you get a feel for the first film. You know what's coming in the second one because they do talk about what's going on, and it does bounce around from that film to that film. You're getting the whole picture, and then obviously you're going to get the full picture when you get to the third film, which Absolutely. They do. And what I did like is what they did in Back to the Future at the end of each movie. Well, they didn't do it with Back to the Future, but Back to the Future 2, didn't they? You did it. They tell you they give you a little trailer and a bit of a sweetener to what's coming next. So, end of the first film, they tell you about at the end about the next one, and the one we watched last night, which is 78. They give you a little teaser trailer to what's happening in 1666 as well, just to whet your appetite. And thoroughly enjoyed them so far.
Cool.
I think I would actually, if anything, these are the sort of films I'd love to purchase if there was to be a time. Also, Waxworks, I've just got the soundtrack collection out coming for all three films in one box set as well. And what I did notice when I was watching the second film, there was a lot of incidental music on some small points. And God, did it sound like The Omen to me. My ears pricked up at that point. Whether that was deliberate or not, I don't know, because we're talking evil, we're talking witches, we're talking the devil. But I would thoroughly say check these out. Really, I haven't enjoyed a film like this for such a long time. But anyway, so that's me. What about yourself?
I've been watching the Cornetto trilogy.
And people are thinking, what's the Cornetto trilogy?
Oh, this is Shaun of the Dead.
You haven't lived under a rock.
Yeah, this is Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. So they're all the ones featuring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. And it's called a Cornetto trilogy because they all eat a cornetto in each movie. So that's why it's called that. Shaun of the Dead, long time been my favourite movie of all times. It's just so funny. I still watch that and still see bits are missed in different places with all the little Easter eggs that they put in. And I couldn't believe it, right? Today, I was watching a rerun of it on Sky. I just was, I was a bit bored, couldn't find anything. My wife had been out, so when I was flicking through Sky Movies, there it was. So I thought, I've only just watched this, but I'll watch a bit more of it. My wife came in, unusually didn't ask for the movie to be turned over, which is something she likes to do sometimes. And she sat fiddling on with her iPad. And I thought, okay. And then I noticed that she kept looking up at the TV and then looking back down and carrying on with her iPad. And then I heard her giggling at a couple of bits. And then I noticed, next thing is, she'd stopped using her iPad and was sat watching it. Yes, finally, I've got her to watch one of my favourite movies. Anyway, then it got really, the violent bit where gets ripped in half and, his guts spilled out of it. That was a bit at which she said, well, I'll let you carry on watching this at that point. But I was explaining to her that, it's out of this trilogy of movies. And I said, maybe Hot Fuzz might be more your thing. So she's actually agreed to sit and watch Hot Fuzz. And I have told her what the story is. So hopefully might actually start to get her into a little bit more of what I'm watching. As the Borg would say, you will be assimilated.
Yeah, they're good movies, and it's funny if they're ever on the TV sometimes, and if you're just switching channels for a minute, you can just sit and carry on watching it from where it's on.
Yeah.
The third film isn't as good as the first two, to be honest, but it's all right.
I'm going to say something as normal, controversial here, but after rewatching The World's End recently, I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I remembered I enjoyed it. Maybe
you see, if they'd had Paul as a part of the trilogy.
Yeah, but Paul wouldn't have fit because it was sort of like the movies are a bit of a love letter to all of the disaster movies from before. So like Shaun of the Dead is obviously Dawn of the Dead. Hot Fuzz is, I'm trying to think of what's the film that, well, there's a few that's built on, isn't there? And The World's End is kind of like a twist on the Stepford Housewives kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I say it's very much
an Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's kind of like those two mixed together. I'm trying to think of what it is that Hot Fuzz is, sort of. But there's been a few sort of like Hammer horrors and stuff like that, hasn't there? Where it's it's had a similar sort of story. So they are like movie love letters to other movies or homages. So I think Paul was a great movie, but it wouldn't have fit in that trilogy. And I'd heard that they were actually looking at making it a quadrilogy now. That was a rumor that was going around.
Well, yeah, I mean, Nick Frost has got he's got another movie to be involved with. Well, I hope he's involved in it, which is a sequel to the Block movie. That one?
Yeah.
They're doing a sequel to that.
All right, okay.
So that's coming out at some point. But they haven't worked together for such a long time.
Yeah, and they're really, I mean, when you used to watch them in Spaced, for example, and there were so many people on that. You look on like Shaun of the Dead. On there,
they're all on there, aren't they? They're all in there.
Yeah, but his flatmate off Spaced was on there.
Yeah.
Matt Lucas, Tasman Outhwaite.
Yeah.
Martin Freeman, he was on there. You look at The World's End, and from Spaced there was his landlady. She was in charge of the pub.
Wasn't one of the girls that he's really really nice with in Shaun of the Dead? Remember the one that she, when he bumped into her, and obviously it was like a clone of each of them as they walked past each other in the corridor down through the council estate where they're going between X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And the girl that actually comes at the very end of the film with the
SAS. Yeah, that was his flatmate. That was his flatmate from Spaced.
Yeah, she's very good.
Yeah, so and also at The World's End, Friday night dinner. Wilson. I forgot what his name is. He's he was on Spaced. He was the artist that was in the basement. So and he's in charge of I think it was The World's End or Pub Number 11 or something like that on the movies. On that movie. So there's a great cast of British actors. I mean, Hot Fuzz has Edward Woodward and Timothy Dalton on there. And Timothy Dalton plays a fantastic role as the guy in charge of the local Summerfield.
Yeah. I mean, I can watch those two. I never get bored of them, those two, the first two, But yeah, actually, just looking at a screenshot from The World's End, it's funny because you don't recognise him without the tash, but the two in CID guys in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, he was the guy who was in the shop with him.
Yeah,
on the first one.
Yeah, and he's in the third film, and he's got no tash there, so you don't recognise him.
Yeah, and he was a lot beefier in Shaun of the Dead than he was in Hot Fuzz, because he played one of the two detectives who were called Andy.
Yeah. Oh, of course, because Rosamund Pike is in it as well.
Yeah.
She was in a Bond movie. And she was nasty in that, if I remember rightly. Against I can't remember which Bond film it was. One with the invisible, it might be the one with the invisible car.
Yes, yeah.
Die Another Day.
Yeah, she was.
She was in that, and And actually, funnily enough, Pierce Brosnan was also in it as well, but I can't remember where.
Pierce Brosnan's on World's End.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was. He played quite a big role in it.
I'm trying to think. I can't remember where he was now.
But like you look at Hot Fuzz, you've got Bill Nighy. He was in it.
You got Alan
I love Bill Nighy.
Yeah.
You got obviously I mentioned Timothy Dalton as Bond, so it's
I know it's Steve. I said Alan Potter, but it's Steve Coogan. If I get it right for you.
Yeah. So there's loads of great actors.
David Bradley's been between them as well. He was in. I don't think he was in the first film, was he? Did he get to be in it? I don't think he did because he was in Hot Fuzz
and in the third one.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Was he in?
Doesn't say so here. I'll just look at that. He was also in Paul as well. Believe it or not.
I can believe. Well, he's been everywhere, hasn't he? Really.
Yeah, he's even been Doctor Who as well. So.
Yeah, because he played the William Hartnell on the.
Yeah.
He played literally William Hartnell.
He played William Hartnell playing Doctor Who. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and I tell you what, they should recast him as Doctor Who and go back to that era as William Hartnell. Because he was really good.
Mm. But can you believe that? I mean, that last one was 2013. Is that long ago?
I know it's shocking, but then again, when you look at Shaun of the Dead, and it's like a 4x3 pan and scan cathode ray tube TV that they've got in the living room. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like
we discussed this before, but they were playing
Time Seekers. Splitters.
Thank you. Yeah. And that, I mean, Shaun of the Dead. That was 2004.
God,
where's all that time gone?
We're really getting old, mate.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, no, he wasn't in Shaun of the Dead, David Bradley, but he was in the other two, and he was great in them as well. I love that bit where he said, "Oh yeah, I'm not so stupid for drinking through this crazy straw now, am I?" That'll make sense for you if you watch it. It's really, guys.
I'd like to have people say with David Bradley, with his character in Hot Fuzz, when the way he talks in it, it's like you need a subtitle below.
Yeah. No,
people talk like that. Do you know what I mean?
And of course, as well, don't forget in Hot Fuzz there's Jim Broadbent.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great actor.
And I tell you, and what you're thinking, I'm going to say, Slater in Only Fools and Horses.
I'm trying to think of what his name was from from Friday Night Dinner.
What was that?
Mark Heap. That was it. He's in it.
Oh, okay.
And also Darren Boyd's in it as well. He's another British comedian as well in The World's End. There's some really good names assigned to all of these movies. That's a good thing about Simon Pegg is he really can pull in like the names like Pierce Brosnan and obviously Martin Freeman who's there, Eddie Marsan. There's loads of good names, but it's just such a brilliant trilogy. I absolutely love the movies. They're my favourite.
It's funny. So when you go back to thinking about Shaun of the Dead, budget was 4 million, but it made in its opening weekend in the US and Canada, it made 3.3 million.
Yeah.
Worldwide, gross worldwide of 30 million. On that one. And then if you compare that to Hot Fuzz, go down to the bottom. Does that make? Take that phone off there. My work phone's buzzing like mad. I don't know what it's all about. Anyway, you can wait. So the budget was double what Shaun of the Dead was made, so 8 million. Opening weekend was 5.8 million. Gross worldwide is 80.7 million on the second one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to assume that the third one will probably be. I think the figures will be less. Let's have a look. So that was 20 million to make. Had an opening weekend of 8.8 million in the US and Canada, and it's grossed 46 million. So they've made their money's worth, haven't they, out of those three films?
Oh hell yeah!
You total that together, all good.
Yeah, so some good movies. Definitely worth watching. Anyway, let's move on to listener questions.
John, what's happening to us?
All right, so listener questions, and Mark's sent us in some questions. He's hoping to get back with us at some point in the near future, so we can't wait to see you, Mark. That's for certain. So in terms of his first question is, if you had to define your gaming life in 3 games, what would they be? And I'm going to give you an extra challenge, Steve, without mentioning Fallout or Destiny.
You mean I'm not allowed to choose them?
He hasn't actually stipulated that, but I would like to put that. But I know that those would probably be two of the ones that will feature on
Bioshock would be another one. Sure.
What about Skyrim? He said
Yeah.
three. So he said three. So come on, what ones are you going to narrow it down to then, Steve? If you're gonna, if you're gonna do it,
I think I've got to be four because I'd have to have Fallout and Skyrim.
No, you have
Bioshock
three.
and Destiny, and Mass Effect probably as well.
No, you can only have three.
Okay, so I'll go for Fallout, Bioshock, and Destiny.
Fallout, Bioshock, and Destiny.
You would be Elite Dangerous.
Yeah.
Mass Effect.
Yeah.
What would be the third? Go on, surprise me.
Well, I suppose it's got to be Destiny as well, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah, I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, okay. You pumped enough hours into it to warrant that.
Hell yeah. I've spent less time in jobs working as I have.
Yeah, I don't. If I can track my hours again these days, I don't think I want to really.
No, well, yours is more like months and years now, isn't it, in terms of Destiny?
Yeah, I think I told that to someone. They think I need to get a life.
Okay, so we both knew each other's gaming history pretty well there, I think. So, Steve, in terms of Mark's second question, do you want to ask that?
So, has the pandemic put part to traditional summer drop in big game releases?
What do you
say?
think?
Yes, I'd say yes to that.
I think it's certainly had an impact this year.
Yeah.
I don't think it's. I think it's the impact is because people weren't working, but I don't think it'll have an ongoing impact in future years. Maybe. Just as a thought.
Well, we know that because the way games are built these days, and we have servers that they can upload all their information to, and they can all work from all places all over the world. It won't make too much of a difference. It probably makes more of a difference because you've got to get it there and you've got to play with it all in one spot. But yeah, it has. I think it does have an effect for more ways than one. Because when in lockdown, you would probably have not had the places that would be releasing making the boxes, for example, different ideas of how things are put together from that point of view. Look at the PlayStation and the Xboxes now. RAM is like rare as anything else. So it all has a big part. I think the world is a bit different at the moment. Obviously Brexit don't help either. When that finished and what we have to deal with now because of how we have to live with export and import as well. But yeah, it's the way it is now. I think we never fussed if a game's put back anyway. We're used to it, and that's all good news. If you're going to get a better game that doesn't need too many updates due to whatever reason it's going to be, like Halo, for example.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, we'd rather have a game that's released that's working than one that's broken. Look at Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red has gone from being everybody loving them to everybody really being annoyed with them. And, they promised a lot and didn't deliver. But they're not going to be the only ones, are they? Because that happened with Watch Dogs and stuff like that as well. But that was just because it was a dumbed-down experience and a not very good game.
We just live in a different world now, and I don't think the world is going to come back together properly for some time yet.
Well, I mean, I know that we're venturing back to the political debate about COVID, but I think that we are, at the moment, I agree with Boris over we have to live with COVID, or we have to learn to live with COVID. But the way that we do that is not by saying we're British and carry on regardless. It is by learning to live with COVID, changing the way we live, or the way that we have lived.
The same way we live with the flu virus, because that over the years has been a part of older generations' life that they have to have flu jabs.
Yeah.
Years ago, flu had pandemics, and we've had other viruses that are kicked. We've had the norovirus, haven't we, and all sorts of other things through the centuries.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's on the same scale as the Black Death. That was another time, but it seems that we've had these times where through the centuries on Earth where we are sort of depleting the planet. It seems, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Without going too biblical on this, if you know what I mean.
Well,
there's been a bit of a cleansing going on, isn't there?
Well, the thing is the human race, as we stand at the moment, we are acting more like a virus, because every other creature on this planet, apart from viruses, lives in harmony with its surroundings, whereas viruses kill the host, and we know we're killing the planet. So there we go. There's the philosophical thought for the day.
Anyway, should we get on to a light note with the next question?
Yeah.
And I think you should answer this one. You should read this one out and probably have to answer it anyway, at least half of it.
Well, I mean, you might have a view even if you haven't watched the show anyway. So Loki, putting aside what everyone's thought about the ending to season 1, which some people didn't like and some people did, where would you like to see subsequent seasons go in regards to the narrative? Obviously, season 2 will wrap up the story of season 1, but if they made a third season, I'd want Loki to take on a Doctor Who where it's a Monster of the Week type show with standalone episodes. So just to tell you what happened without giving the story away, obviously it's time...
Would you like to say who actually sent this question in?
Oh, sorry, it was Jason 2, and apologies, Jason, for missing that. So in terms of Loki, for anybody who hasn't seen it, it does involve time travel in the show, and basically it's one long 6-episode story. So what Jason's basically saying is, for season 2 will probably follow suit, but for season 3, do we want it more Doctor Who, where we just have a different story every week?
You like that idea?
No, I like the long story arcs in terms of shows, and I know that this is something that we've debated on privately more than on this show. But I personally, while I have the frustration of, oh, come on, I want to watch the next episode, by not binge watching shows, I feel like I'm enjoying them more again. So for the shows,
there's anticipation, isn't there?
Yeah, it's like shows used to be.
Well,
so
back in the day when you had TV, and all right, you did have a VCR, should we say?
Yeah.
And there was only 4 channels for it. We didn't have Sky. Nothing was there on tap. And when you're watching an episode from, I don't know, it could be, I mean, Life of Mars was a bit later, but it's still so. That was a weekly show. You had one episode, 1 week, and you had to wait till the next week. Yeah. And that was it. There was no catch up. There was no iPlayer to cream off a big chunk like you can today.
Yeah.
They got it too good, everyone, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, the generation of kids now, you know, I can see it in my own son. We've been watching Loki, and it's been a Wednesday night ritual. Loki's on, we'll sit and watch it together, and we'll talk about the show and stuff like that. Other stuff where it's sort of like, oh yeah, there's that season, and there it is, day 1. Sit and watch the season, that's it. You talk about it for 20 minutes, and that's it. Whereas, you know, we'd have been having a conversation all week of, so, what do you think, Dad? I think this. That's a good idea, but what about this?
That's how shows. Well, if we go back to the vintage serial shows in the 50s, for example, they had cliffhangers every week.
Yeah.
You think something like Flash Gordon, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And all right, I'm going to say though, when we were watching them in the 70s, we were watching them Saturday morning TV during the summer holidays, but they would show you an episode a day in the running time. Yeah. So you would watch. But obviously, when they came out, they would have come out probably a bit differently to that. Yeah. And going back to stuff like Doctor Who back in the day, you'd have a 6-part series for one show in Doctor Who, which would be cliffhangered every week, and then sometimes the cliffhanger will be who's the regeneration, because that you didn't have internet those days. You weren't going to be aware of who's going to be taking it on. Yeah, speculation was like it was just a different ballgame.
I mean, for me now, you know, I think really, I'm thinking that this really started with Picard, because that's the first one that I sort of, you know, no, probably it was Discovery, but then I think that
the first show on Netflix to do that,
to do it weekly, that sort of like sparked my radar.
But Picard was on.
Yeah, but Discovery was before Picard.
Yeah, was that on Amazon Prime though?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But we've had 2 seasons of Discovery and then Picard. Now, as you know, myself and Alan did the weekly podcast where we did a rundown. We did the nerd deep dive into everything, all of the history and stuff like that, and predictions of the show. And we got a lot of those right. And I was like really quite, like enjoyed it. I was quite proud of getting some of the predictions right and other ones wrong. But the thing was, it was the fun predicting what was going to happen, whether or not I got it right or not. And last week for the show, I did a prediction for Loki, and I got it completely wrong. I mean, I considered what was going to happen, and that was sort of like my fallback position. But I thought what they did in the show, they wouldn't have done for specific reasons of the fact that it was a TV show, but they still did it, and that I think was fantastic. And I'm not trying to not spoil it for you here, Steve, but just by being cryptic around it all. And so I was really quite pleased that I was wrong about that, and I don't mind being, wrong. If I make a prediction on the show, it doesn't.
It's only for fun anyway. It's just
yeah, of course it is. It's fun, and that's the whole point is what I'm making, and I really do. Alan, we haven't had contact with Alan for a long time. Since obviously Alan stopped doing the show, and after a few months back, and we hope that you're well, Alan. But it's Alan's choice. He just wanted to come away from it all and just wanted to focus on being well, and I completely appreciate that. So Alan, if you're listening, we do hope that you are well. But I really miss doing that with Alan, because we used to sort of do it earlier on, but you're sort of like a bit more delayed on shows now, so we can't do it in quite the same way.
No.
And I don't mean that as a criticism, Steve. I just mean it as the way it is.
Life and, yeah.
Yeah, we're out of sync. But I'm straight on that, that thing, and I love listening to other people's sort of thoughts and theories and all of that sort of thing as well, but I tend to listen to them after I've figured out my own ones, as it were. Yeah. So I like the long story arcs because it gives you that ability to predict what's coming and do the theories. So personally, I hope it goes that way. But I would like to see Loki being properly integral to the movie MCU. Unlike Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was sort of like a one-way interface, I would like this to go both ways, so that stuff that happens in the show was referenced in the movies.
Yeah.
So that's my response on that. I mean, from what you know of the show, Steve?
I know literally nothing. I know literally nothing about it.
So
last thing. So all I remember of Loki was him disappearing during the Avengers movies. Right. That's the last time I've seen it.
So you hadn't even heard about the fact that there was time travel involved?
No, I don't know. Yeah, you just said to me that I don't even know about. So yeah, I've not been. I mean, I'm going in. I've kept away from all the spoiler. I'm really going in green on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's not spoiling anything for you, Steve. And it was well publicised as well. Was all of that. And the very basic premise of the show, which sort of like wasn't the basic premise of the show at all. But anyway, so Steve doesn't have an opinion, so we'll let Steve.
Sorry, I'm so hot. I'm trying to fan myself because I haven't got a fan in here, and I'm like, considering I had a shower in the afternoon, I think I'm going to need another one in a minute.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay, Mark Tudor. He says, which streaming service is best bang for the buck?
Do we say Netflix on 3?
Well, no, I'm going to shock you. I'm going to say Amazon. Do you know why?
Why?
Because it's free with Prime.
Yes, if you were paying for Amazon Prime movies, or the Amazon Prime Video on its own, then I would say Amazon Prime Video would be terrible value. Because I probably watch about 20%.
We all do watch more Netflix than we do Amazon Prime. But Amazon Prime is actually free with Amazon Prime. Video is actually free with Amazon Prime. It comes as part of it. So
yeah, but also you get the storage, you get the ability to check books in and out of Kindle.
Also,
you get Amazon
also something new you get is the backup of unlimited photos.
Yes,
so
all of that.
Do that because if you do that now, before end of July, not in July, I think end of August, you get £7 on your Amazon credit as well, or something.
Yeah.
I got an email about that yesterday. But anyway, we all watch Netflix. I mean, my wife watches it more than I do. She binge watches so many shows, it's unreal. But every now and then there's something that's worth watching on Amazon Video, sorry. I also subscribe to Shudder, which is that's a personal point of view from the horror genre, and the only place to watch the Creepshow TV show. So there's swings and roundabouts, but Netflix is the big one at the moment.
Yeah, Netflix in terms of who has the best content.
I mean, there are other ones in America that we don't have, like Paramount. Is it Paramount Plus or Paramount? I can't remember what it's called.
Paramount Plus, there's HBO, there's loads of others.
Hulu as well. But Paramount Plus is going to be showing all the Star Trek movies a bit earlier on 4K on there as well as a streaming service, apparently. But yeah, there's so many. You know, where do you go?
Yeah, I mean,
I use Sky now to watch, even though I've got the app as well. I use Sky to watch Netflix, not all the time, but I use it individually just with preference because of the what quality I'm looking at. If you're with me.
Yeah, well, I mean, rather than my LG TV, I'll use Sky's app to watch Netflix and to watch Amazon Prime as well.
I do use it for BBC iPlayer though.
Yeah,
it does link in, and I mean, but obviously I'm paying less for Netflix with Sky at the moment. So there's your option there, people. If you haven't done that yet, inquire about it with your Sky package to see what they'll charge you. You'll get it probably cheaper than you're paying now.
But ironically, I actually use my Fire Stick, even though on my LG TV in my man cave it's a smart TV and it's a 4K smart TV. I still use my Fire Stick to watch Netflix.
Yeah.
So, but I from a pure cost point of view, in terms of everything that you get, because you get loads of services, in terms of, you know, your Prime subscription, just try to see what it is that you actually get in your Prime subscription.
I was looking earlier because I was involved. I was looking at the you know, the picture side of things for that as well.
Yeah, but you get the pictures, you get the delivery, you get the movie downloads, you get Twitch or you know, Prime Gaming, don't you know? You get Amazon Music with over 2 million songs on there. You get you can watch Amazon Originals and live sports on video, obviously. Early night deals.
I still need to watch the Jeremy Clarkson Farmer Show. I've got to watch that yet. I've been meaning to put that on.
Yeah.
That's worth a giggle on anyone's.
But Prime Reading, that's something I never use.
Yeah.
You know, the store print and share, as you were saying, you get the premium delivery. So it's for £8 a month. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
see how much money they've spent now. I mean, they all used to be using their own vehicles. Now they've got a fleet of Amazon vans now. Have you seen them?
Oh, yeah.
So,
but do you remember when Amazon was a bookshop?
God, yeah, I was like,
that was like 90s, but that's what it started out as, an online bookstore. That wasn't selling for RRP. But yeah, in that respect, Prime is the best value. But if you're looking for who has the best content, Netflix at the moment, by country mile. But there are some great shows.
So Amazon are competing a bit more now. They are getting a few movies under their belts.
Yeah, they've got The Boys on there as well. That's a great show. I think it's a bit of a shame that it's stuck on Stars Play. But you've got like Penworthy and Doom Patrol, both of which are great shows, which you know, should be on it. And I think wasn't Raised by Wolves on Prime as well.
I don't know.
That's a good series. If you've not seen that, that's a sci-fi series. So yeah, I think they've all got. Well, those two, the main two, offer different things, but you know, Netflix is so.
Yeah, I mean, when I actually bought a couple of films on Amazon Prime on digital, because this is more for research purposes it was, but they have a nice collection of Hammer movies on there for free to watch, for example, which is really cool. Some of the Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing movies. They've got a lot of old content in there if you want to find something like that to watch, as well as obviously the newer stuff that's coming out.
Yeah. And
they do change the free stuff every now and then with what you can watch at the moment. They do spin it around a bit and give you newer films. some older film classics to watch that you may have never seen.
Yeah.
I think Dawn of the Dead's back on there now as well, for example.
Yeah.
Hasn't been, which is out of the blue. Yeah. Okay, shall I do Paul Wilson's question? Because then
well, you did Matt Tudor's, so.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay.
I'll do Paul's.
Yeah, Scott Kids. Well, we've been there, but yeah, go on.
Right. So Paul's asking, what was the last coin-up arcade video game machine you paid to play? How long ago was it, and was it a satisfying experience?
How long ago was it? We're talking mid-80s. We're talking.
What, since you played an arcade machine?
Coin-up.
Yeah.
Put money in. I mean, when I used to go bowling occasionally, I might go on Sega Rally or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, when you get the little arcade areas, don't you, in there? But prior to that, thinking old school, we're talking Gallagher and Missile Command. Someone's at the door.
The last one that I did was
Space Invaders. I'm going well back now, but
yeah, Space Invaders is a long time ago. That is early 80s. But the last one that I did was that I paid for, and it was years and years later. This must be about 10 years ago. Was Ridge Racer, and it was only because it was sort of like there, sat in the corner of a services somewhere where I was going from A to B. And, I'd been driving for like 3 or 4 hours. So I saw Ridge Racer and I thought, oh, I'll have a drive.
You know what I'm just thinking of, right? Just really chuckle. It's made me chuckle. I'm thinking of Dave and Gavin and Stacey when he says, I need to have a break from driving, and he's playing an arcade car racing game to chill out.
Yeah, Dave the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was exactly because I think I'd actually seen. Oh, yeah. When I saw that on Gavin and Stacey, that's exactly what I thought. I thought I've done that. But yeah, I used to love Ridge Racer though. At the nearest bowling alley to me, which would have been a Hollywood Bowl at Middlesbrough, we used to have like a full-sized car version of it. You would sit in the car and you would drive that. I think it was about like £1.50 for a game or something or other like that. It was a completely different experience playing it in there. Somebody I used to know used to work in there as well. So, and he had a great love of Ridge Racer, but also at the nightclub in near where I live, they had Ridge Racer in there. I used to spend half of the night on Ridge Racer, and I used to be really, really good at it. Because I used to play it all the time. I used to put hundreds of pounds in that machine, but I probably could have bought it, to be fair. But loved it. Great game, and I loved it on the PlayStation afterwards as well. Got to do Scott's.
So, last question: what do you think about the Steam Deck? Will you be getting one, Haydn?
I think we've answered that. No, won't be getting one. I think it's a fantastic bit of kit, but not for me. So, and Steve's waffing his arms, so he's either directing a flight or he's got sweaty armpits.
I put two paddles that way. Was it in the airplane? Over there.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's hot.
And Steve won't be getting one.
No. I'll be getting a Thrustmaster before I get anything like that.
Yeah, I'll be going to Argos tomorrow to pick it up as well.
Anyhow, so
Steve, do you want to give your contact details?
So Twitter @Steve007. That's the best place to find me. Xbox is the same as well, and the PlayStation is the real Steve007 because I lost the original account, so I redid a new one. Instagram is Steve0764, I think it is, and my YouTube channel is Steve07 as well. I'm only up to 88 subscribers in that, so I'm not hit the 100 just yet.
Okay, so mine is HERJ UK on absolutely everything. If you want to follow the show, then you can do so on Twitter @PopCultureGamer. You can follow our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe at youtube.com/popculturegamers. Yay, we can say it now. Our Facebook group, obviously search for Pop Culture Gamers exactly the same way as for our Facebook page. You can email the podcast at podcast@popculturegamers.co.uk. And don't forget, there's our website, anchor.fm/popculturegamers. So just as a reminder, this is our summer break. We will be back. but it'll be in early September, most
Ish.
likely, unless of course we get bored and we think, oh,
but if
let's do a show.
But if something crops up that's worth talking about, maybe.
Yeah, you never know. We might throw out one or two shows. We'll just see, but we thought it's a bit quiet, so let's just let all of that, go over for the time being. But as an Arnold Schwarzenegger says, I'll be back, and so will Steve.
And enjoy your summer holidays if you're going to do anything.
Yes, indeed, definitely. So it's a good night from me.
And a good night from him.
Good night.